Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Either there is massive change or America goes bankrupt. Therefore, there must be massive change. Those the words of Elon Musk in response to the continuing resolution that had been leveled up for passage by House Republicans and then was summarily ditched after opposition, public opposition from the two Bobs over at Doge, Rand Paul, and most importantly, lost in all this by the D.C. press corps purposefully, Trump and Vance. Trump and Vance issued a statement, the president-elect and the vice president-elect. The most foolish and inept thing ever done by congressional Republicans was allowing our country to hit the debt ceiling in 2025. It was a mistake and is now something that must be addressed. Meanwhile, Congress is considering a spending bill that will give sweetheart provisions for government censors and for Liz Cheney. The bill would make it easier to hide the records of the corrupt January 6th committee. And he goes on, increasing the debt ceiling is not great, but we'd rather do it on Biden's watch. If Democrats won't cooperate on the debt ceiling now, what makes anyone think they would do it in June during our administration? Let's have the debate now, and we should pass a streamlined spending bill that doesn't give Chuck Schumer and the Democrats everything they want. Republicans must get smart and tough. If Democrats threaten to shut down the government unless we give them everything they want, then call their bluff. It is Schumer and Biden who are holding up aid to our farmers and disaster relief, hurricane disaster relief. The chaos would not be happening if we had a real president. We will in 32 days. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line and text line. Trump, Vance, Musk, Vivek taking the right posture with respect to what Speaker Johnson had cobbled together and presented for passage?
Well, do people really know what's in the bill? Pay raises for members of Congress, which, oh, by the way, was a surprise to our very own Dick Durbin when he talked to Mana Raju.
Members are giving themselves a pay raise. Do you guys deserve a pay raise?
Well, that's news to me. It's good news. What has it been, 10 years or 14 years and no COLA, no change at all? I think it's about time something's done.
You support giving yourselves a pay raise?
How would I not know about a pay raise?
But I mean, people look at the performance of Congress and say, why should we give them more money?
What about the media? Think about that for a second.
And we're not paid by public money.
I know you're not, but half of your listeners are not there anymore. You're still getting the same paycheck? What's going on?
Yeah, that's pretty funny, actually, that little rejoinder from Saka Durbin on the media. However, Manu Raju has the salient point, which is, hey, talk to my bosses at CNN. I can't explain why they pay me as much money or this much money, or Anderson Cooper's baffled by how much he makes. I mean, who knows? Maybe this is why we won't be around for very much longer, or we'll be another subsidiary of Musk's. But the pay raise, that's the whole thing in terms of how you want to frame this to the American people. A Congress, they haven't had a pay raise in 10 years, says Dick Durbin. Well, I don't think there's a lot of people in America, maybe some in Illinois, that have much sympathy for Saka Durbin and the $200,000 plus he makes by occupying space in D.C. The $174,000 that members of the House make, that's about 3.5 times the median household. The median wages of the median American wages, which last year, 2023, was like just under $50,000. So the median wages of Americans is $48,000, and they're paying their betters forcibly $174 in the House, $200 plus in the Senate. So the whole thing, even though it's a COLA bump of 3.8%, bottom line is, since the last time they gave themselves a pay raise to present, the national debt has tripled. So that doesn't earn you a COLA, it doesn't earn you anything. It should earn you being kicked out on your ear, but of course that doesn't happen to too many incumbents, unfortunately. But the way to frame this, anybody wants to do the disaster relief and aid to farmers, business, and other provisions in this 1,500-page monstrosity, say these guys are doing all this to give themselves a pay raise and to keep things continuing on the path they've been on, which we all know is not a path that we can continue, which is a path that you said on November 5th that we can't continue. And so I agree with what Vance said in his post on X, that you put this right back on the Democrats. I mean, this is the old game. It plays all the time, which is why we continue to bust through the caps on our credit cards. It's the old Thomas Sowell formulation. If you only had a certain amount of money and you're a member of Congress, and you had to make a choice between funding, pay for enlisted men and women in the military, or the construction of a statue to Benedict Arnold, which would you choose to fund? And, of course, the answer is the statue to Benedict Arnold, because you'll get both. You fund the statue to Benedict Arnold, and then there's a hue and cry, well, how can you fund something as offensive as that and not make sure that our military men and women get their paychecks? So you get both. How can you do something as outrageous as looking around D.C. to scrape up whatever loose change you can and send it off to Ukraine before you leave office? How can you commit $1 billion in aid to African kleptocracies and not provide disaster relief to North Carolina? And so Congress does both.
Exactly. Mary Pork Miss, somebody texted in.
John and Piatone, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hi. I understand the one thing about the salaries, but how about the perks these guys get? Every time they go off on some excursion somewhere, it's paid for. So what's the value of Durbin's perks?
Oh, no question.
The driver, doesn't have to pay car insurance and
the health insurance. Starts
yeah.
there.
There you go.
That'd be nice not to have to fill up your tank.
I want an accounting of that.
Right. Thanks for the call, John. I mean, it's the same conversation all the way. If it's such a terrible gig, why do you keep running for re-election?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
The funding bill also includes opening a new stadium in Washington, D.C.
Of course it does. The point, John Kennedy in the Senate said, the point of a continuing resolution is to maintain the status quo. Even as sort of obnoxious as that is, it's not to lard on a bunch of other things, which of course is what happened. Victoria Spartz, who has announced she's basically not really going to caucus with the House Republicans, though she's a conservative, this Republican from Indiana, of Ukrainian extraction.
We've had her on the show several times.
Right. She, but she's still a conservative. She's still going to vote conservative, but she would rather caucus with the Doge boys than with the House Republicans, which is a telling statement. This is what she had to say about the CR and Speaker Johnson.
Listen, we're divided in government, but we don't have to be ruled by Democrats. Speaker Johnson didn't even talk to moderate Republicans, not just to conservatives. He usually doesn't even care to hear to us. That's unfortunate. He just made a deal, with Democrats, put a bunch of slush funds, what they wanted, put little things that maybe he can try to push some Republicans to vote and try to sell it as a victory, which is really another, Christmas present to Chuck Schumer. And that's what was expected by Republicans. And he's been dishonest in this. And I think at some point, enough is enough. And if we don't start governing the country, it's on calamity course. So I hope next Congress will grow the backbone and start dealing with the swamp, because fiscally the country is really in huge, huge trouble.
The grow a backbone theme was echoed by Senator Rand Paul. I had hoped to see Speaker Johnson grow a spine, but this bill full of pork shows he is a weak man. The debt will continue to grow. Ultimately, the dollar will fail. Democrats are clueless, and big government Republicans are complicit. A sad day for America. This is not going to be without incident, this Trump counter-revolution that we voted for on November 5th. There is organized opposition that is substantial in terms of its strength inside that beltway. And what you're seeing right now is a good example of that. And frankly, of course, the Democrats run this game to try to bait the Republicans into a quote-unquote government shutdown. And it's a real test of mettle, and so now you have sort of the same melodrama playing out that we have with all of these, that we've seen with all of these similar contretemps over continuing to fund the government. We can't seem to break out of the hamster wheel, in part because we just haven't gotten the sort of congressional leadership intellectually as well as sort of mechanically behind the scenes that is required. And it's going to be very interesting to see what Johnson decides to do between now and the end of business on Friday. Clean CR, debt ceiling raise, clean CR plus disaster relief for North Carolina, Georgia, South Carolina, hurricane relief. But you have to start to begin the conversation we had yesterday with John Uriel, where the art of the deal meets the art of persuasion. What Spart, the most indictable thing Spart said about Johnson there is that he's not communicating with caucus members. He's also not articulating the state of play to the public. And, of course, this was known, this moment, this date was on the calendar back in the fall. And so after the dust cleared on Election Day and, in the couple subsequent days after, the requirement for Johnson is to then refocus on this date and explain to the American people what's happening and talk to the caucus and try and bring this narrow majority together to act in furtherance of this paradigm shift that they say is coming on January 20th. And as much as I like Speaker Johnson and respect him as an intellectual and thought he would be, the best of the available options for Speaker, there's no doubt that this is a bad moment for him. And we're going to see in, I guess, the next 48 hours or so if he can turn it into a good moment for him. Okay, coming up at 5:38, we have to return to this issue we raised yesterday because of the response we've gotten and because there's more color to offer on the topic of the San Francisco weight stigma czar, the lovely Virgie Tover. She has more to say about the right to remain fat, and you'll hear it at 5:38.
Okay, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
26 degrees at 5:31. A few thousand Amazon workers trying to go on strike this morning. Teamsters Union argues workers striking at Amazon facilities in New York, California, Atlanta, and here in Skokie are seeking better pay, longer breaks, and safer conditions. Amazon this morning says they don't expect an immediate impact to any operations. Company saying in a statement, Teamsters have continued to intentionally mislead the public, claiming they represent thousands of Amazon employees and drivers. They do not. The past 6 years, Amazon says it has boosted starting minimum wage for fulfillment and transportation employees by 20%. The White House is blaming President-elect Trump for sinking a bipartisan funding bill that would have prevented a government shutdown. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country.
Congressman Chip Roy says it's not a good look for Republican Speaker Mike Johnson.
It is not something that is going to earn favor with the conference that we are looking at such an enormous bill heading into Christmas.
Earlier this week, Congress announced they'd reached a deal to keep the government open through March. The Supreme Court will hear arguments over the upcoming TikTok ban. The law requires the owner of TikTok, ByteDance, to either sell the app or be banned in the United States, and it is scheduled to go into effect on January 19. The company is asking the court to block that law while an appeals court hears the case, continues to hear that case on a lower level. The Federal Reserve lowering rates again, announcing Wednesday it's cutting interest rates by a 0.25 percentage point. Fed officials began lowering rates this fall from a 23-year high of 5.5%. Clouds will lower and thicken throughout the day. Snow develops in the afternoon, but will we have a white Christmas? Our forecast in just a few minutes. Defense attorneys will now get their chance to call their own witnesses in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial. Chicago Board of Education has called a meeting tomorrow. They could vote on a possible termination or buyout agreement on the contract of CEO Pedro Martinez. The special meeting is the latest update, what continues to be a major power struggle between Martinez and weakened Mayor Brandon Johnson and his CTU allies. For more than 3 decades, the Cook County Sheriff's Office has been in charge of the electronic monitoring program. The EM program started in 1989, was used primarily for nonviolent offenders. Cook County Sheriff's Office now says they're done running the program. They are one of the only offices in the country managing a program like this. Most are run through the courts. A Lake County judge is allowing prosecutors to present hours of police interrogation video of the Highland Park July 4 parade shooting suspect. Judge Victoria Rossetti denied a motion to suppress Robert Cremo III's testimony, saying the defendant was fully aware of his rights. Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt.
Our office agrees with the court's factual findings and legal rulings that police and prosecutors honored the defendant's constitutional rights during the questioning on July 4th and July 5th, 2022.
And the 300th baby box in the United States is now located in Northwest Indiana. Safe Haven baby boxes allow for the anonymous and safe surrender of newborn babies. A celebration and blessing was held at the baby box at the Mishawaka Fire Station number 2 on Wednesday. It's the 141st box in the state of Indiana. Bulls take a swing at the defending champs when they visit the Celtics tonight. Blackhawks go for their 3rd win in a row when they host Seattle. College basketball last night, Loyola beat Canisius, Bradley over San Francisco, and Illinois State crushed Northern Illinois. The news, a service of quick delivery service, ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 23rd on their Lost Christmas Tour 2024. AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the Allstate Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other. And if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
This is Sean Thompson. When you go on vacation, does it make sense to have somebody else pack for you? Of course not. The same can be said for your retirement. Your 401k could be packed with things you don't know about or even need. If you're close to retirement, but you don't have a plan customized to your goals, it's like kind of taking a 30-year vacation with no idea what's in the suitcase. Sounds like a stressful way to begin what should be a relaxing time. Tom Fortino at Alpha Wealth Group can help you unpack your savings and build a plan to reduce future taxes, address Social Security and healthcare, and a whole lot more, all with a clear, defined income strategy. Call the Alpha Wealth Group at 630-934-1855. Ask for the complimentary retirement plan. That's 630-934-1855 or online at alphawealthgroup.com. And listen to the Alpha Wealth Hour Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. right here on AM 560.
Advisory services through Retirement Wealth Advisors, LLC, and SEC Registered Investment Advisor. Insurance and annuities offered through Alpha Wealth Group, licensed in Illinois.
Struggling with high cloud hosting costs and endless management headaches with your Microsoft Azure or AWS environment? Contact AmericanEagle.com for an assessment and see how they can save you time and money.
540. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high quality and professional level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor. Visit Valdecas.com. Only one problem this morning that we can see so far inbound on the Stevenson. You're jammed up Ashland into the Ryan with a slow ramp to the inbound Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun throughout the day, high 35. Snow kicks in overnight, low 31. Cloudy and 26 right now. Next news at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Yesterday we introduced you to Virgie Tover, who is the newly minted weight stigma czar for the city of San Francisco. And if San Francisco can have something cool like that in terms of one of their government commissars, then we want one too in Chicago, maybe even Illinois. I can't imagine Jelly Belly would object. So we were trying to identify who would be a good fit for that post here in Chicago and maybe even at the state level. Maybe we can do San Francisco one better and go statewide, and I do mean wide. Virgie Tover, you know her probably as the author of You Have the Right to Remain Fat.
Are you being serious?
That's
forwarded by J.P. Pritzker.
That's the book she wrote.
You have the right to.
You have the right to remain fat, and your fatness cannot be used against you in a court of law.
It's a great stocking stuffer.
Virgie Tover is an educator, a visionary, a champion for anti-fat discrimination, as we got from a listener yesterday. And we're sending it to Virgie Tover, tried to help make this go viral. Do some marketing here. Got to have swag. Weight hate has no home here.
Wait.
And as Virgie Tover will explain to you, and particularly some of those who are bigoted.
Don't be directing that stare toward me. Dan.
There's no constitutional mandate to be healthy.
Where do you see the intersection, really? What is your definition of health?
Yeah, that's really complicated, right? I think I want to talk about that question, but I want to start by saying that no one has to be healthy. No, right? Like, I mean, it's like, no, like there is no governing body that's like out there putting, you know what I mean? It's like no one owes anybody that in either the traditional sense of the word or any other more innovative or, more politicized, maybe even version of that word. So I think it's important to say like, and I want to back up and bring in intersectionality and say like, right, like look at the disabled community, right? Like I think people with disabilities have and activists within that space have consistently been saying like, I'm never going to be your notion of healthy. That doesn't mean I don't get to be a full human. You get to treat me some kind of way, right? And so I think that I love taking that principle within disability rights to fat activism and to understandings of fatness. So I want to start there, right? Like no matter what size you are, you don't owe anybody else your health. But I mean, for me, right, like in an ideal world where like in an ideal world, there wouldn't be health-based gatekeeping at all.
FAT is the new PHAT. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line, and a text line of fat activism, very much like activism for people with disabilities. Is it really, though? Is it?
312-642-5600. I mean, because I saw a lot about this yesterday, of course, after we brought it to you, or Dan, you brought it to us first, and so many different interviews with her, past interviews, and I mean, they're just trying to normalize the bad choices that they make.
Oh, see, this is what this is like. I'm tired of working with a shock jock. I'm tired of working with this provocateur, Amy Jacobson, because I have to bear the brunt of your open hostility to fat activists. Yesterday, among the emails we got, this was directed to me. Oh. And here I am pushing for a weight stigma czar. Here you are engaged in these jeremiads against fat people. And yet the email's addressed to me, Dan, you just ruined the day for probably half your audience. Well, if it's half our audience, well, that's maybe our audience needs to be halved. And I don't mean in numbers. I have fought weight and food and eating and self-image most of my life. It is a fight. Don't assume we are lazy and sloths. Amy. Well, first of all, I said nothing of the sort yesterday. I'm not saying that people that are fat are lazy or are slothful.
And I didn't say that either, just for the record.
Exactly. You said everything else, though.
Darn right I did, brother.
Weight does have a home at the Jacobson compound.
I was big once, and I had
You weren't.
Dan, I shopped at Lane Bryant. You can ask my sisters. It will be in my book.
When you were pregnant.
No, it was after I was pregnant. And then people kept sending me pregnancy advice to the station. And
yeah, but
I almost weighed 200 pounds. I was a size 16, and I am not kidding you.
Yeah, but you were that was at getting the weight off after pregnancy, I presume.
But it was so difficult. It was so hard. And the hunger pains I had, I wanted to eat. But I had to walk instead. And shrink my stomach back down and shrink my, everything back down. But it took a long time, and I'm not kidding you. You can ask my sisters; they went with me.
Well, first of all, I mean, first of all, if you're overweight and you're listening, lighten up. I mean, if you need to lighten up, like this emailer, nobody's taking out after fat people for being fat. I'm not here to ridicule fat people for being fat or make sweeping judgments about why you're overweight or something like this. Of course, what the point of this discussion is, I'm sorry I have to say it, but even some conservatives are humorless, it turns out. My dad is overweight. He has fought a weight problem his entire life, or at least since I've been around. But the issue doesn't merit a weight stigma czar.
Right. Your tax dollars going for that. I mean, in San Francisco. But
it also doesn't require people with weight problems should be coddled. And that's consistent with my belief that no adults should be coddled. Society doesn't owe a duty to coddle anyone, any adult. So just give me a break and pay attention to the overriding point here. This is identitarian politics gone wild. Of course it is. You just heard Virgie Tovar use the word intersectionality. You're going to hear more if you look at eating cake through a critical feminist theoretical lens, then you learn that you don't have to take just a half a slice. You can, immerse your face in the cake, like the pie eating contest scene from Stand By Me. I mean, this is what we're talking about. It's amazing that I have to explain this to people listening to this show, but there's some that I do. That really is how pernicious identitarian politics is. And you hear her say, comparing fat activism is like activism for people with disabilities. The people with disabilities have disabilities through no fault of their own.
Right.
And yes, everybody's physiognomy is different, and so everybody can has different sort of health challenges, and we want to acknowledge that. But I mean, this sort of like this is the latest victim group, and then we get the fat influencers in the fat activist community, and you have FatCon 2024. I mean,
right.
come on, you really are identifying yourself as a human being by your body mass index. Well, that's no more sensible than identifying yourself as a human being in terms of what you deserve or don't deserve, or how you've been aggrieved or not aggrieved, just by the simple fact that you're a particular sex or you're a particular race. That's what we're talking about here.
And for me, I mean, they're trying to normalize obesity, which they have been for a few years, just like they normalized trans, just like they're normalizing or trying to tampons in the boys' bathroom. The left tells us that men can get pregnant. I mean, now they're celebrating that. Now there's a paid taxpayer position for a weight czar in San Francisco.
I mean, you want to really get into this? You really want, I mean, for those out there thinking, oh, well, don't be mean to people who are overweight. Yeah. You really want to get into this? You really want to cast yourself with the Virgie Tovar? I don't think you do. Here's a part of more of Virgie Tovar scholarship under the heading, weight-based discrimination isn't a health question, it's a human rights question. So how can you be weight neutral? I mean, and by that I mean, how can you have neutrality to people who are in bigger bodies, as Virgie Tovar might say? Here's how you do it. You ready for the punch list?
I'm ready.
Seeing bodies of all sizes as a natural and positive part of body diversity. Recognizing that divorcing weight outcomes from health outcomes creates a path to success. What? Not forcing patients to get weighed if it's not necessary for their care.
Oh, it's like they
not presuming someone's health status or eating behaviors by their size. Understanding that all bodies deserve the same level of dignity and respect. Yeah, there's just more to love and respect. Understanding that weight gain or weight restoration can be a positive and important part of healing for people of all sizes with ED backgrounds. Seeing fat phobia as the problem that needs to be fixed, not larger bodies. Oh, boy. I mean, cut and paste. Cut and paste identitarian politics. The phobias, those suffering from a phobia have the problem, not the object of their alleged phobia. Yeah, I'm afraid of fat people. Transphobia, homophobia, blah, blah, blah phobia. Now it's fat phobia. Creating access for higher weight people in 3 dimensions. What? I don't know what that means. Imagining joy, thriving, and futurity for all bodies.
What?
Yeah. So as long as you can abide those strictures, then you can be an ally of the fat activists like your San Francisco weight stigmas are. George in Naperville, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Yes, Dan, who among us is going to stand up to be the next Richard Simmons to help these people?
Virgie Tovar. I hope she does not wear the short shorts, though.
Well, you don't even have to work out anymore because now there's so much stuff on the market and the black market, too, for like Ozempic and weight loss drugs. So you could just take a pill. You could lose weight the easy way.
Dawn in Naperville.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for taking my phone call. The differentiation is that individuals with disabilities are born with a disability. And if you want to understand the history of why we have the civil rights laws that were passed in the 1970s for individuals with disabilities, it's because they were being segregated and they weren't being educated. So there were civil rights laws that were passed to put burden on the school system so that they treated individuals with disabilities and they weren't segregating them and that they were educating them. That is the point. And to be honest with you, when it comes to that type of civil rights law, the only enforcer are the parents. The Department of Education is pretty much worthless. There's nobody in a back room, auditing schools. So it's just really, it's really insulting for her to say that. And I'm going to give her a data fact. Only 14% of adults with autism are employed in the United States. Is that impacting individuals who are overweight? Do we have a data point to show that? So even if a person has a disability, it doesn't mean that they're going to automatically get specialized instruction in school. It has to do with how their disability adversely impacts them. Adversely impacts them in the classroom, how it impacts them in daily life skills. And, it's just really, it's insulting. It's so insulting to people with disabilities, and that just wasn't right. I totally disagree.
Thanks for the call, Don.
So much for the call.
Phil in Maryville.
Morning, guys. Yeah, I'm considered an obese person. They say,
I prefer the term Rubenesque.
Yeah, whatever they want to call it.
Yeah. Let him live his truth, Dad.
Yeah, of course.
It makes them feel good, but I'm very big.
That's soft dig.
I work 60 hours a week. I make $120,000 a year. I'm in and out of that garbage truck in Chicago, 100 times a day. And I tell you what, some of these office people I see that are supposedly fit, I'd be able to outwork them in a heartbeat. And I got really nothing against fat people, but me even being fat, and I look at someone that's just like a walking blob that can't do anything, it's just you could tell by the person how they handle their weight. And like I said, some office people that are supposed to be like healthy and they look healthy. It's all about, I think, really how you handle yourself, because what it boils down to, I've been doing this for now probably 20 years, and if I feel like I got to lose weight, I will. But, I mean, some people just do look disgustingly fat, like they need help, and I agree with
you. Have strength.
Enough about J.B. Pritzker.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. Thanks for the call, Phil. Appreciate it.
I mean, to do what he does, he's got to be a strong man.
Oh, look, when you got a tool like Phil's, you got to build a shed over it, Toots. That's what I say. Virgie Tovar also does videos, instructional videos.
Okay.
You're
obsessed with this.
I telegraphed it with the cake, and Virgie Tovar wants to let them, the fat, eat their cake. It's actually kind of funny.
CRFI. If you're like many women, you've been to a birthday party or a small office gathering, an event that's meant to bring people together. There's swinging tunes, some adult beverages, and good convo. And then it comes time to cut the cake, and someone decides to ruin everything.
Oh my God, that slice is huge. That slice is bigger than Beyonce's paycheck. Can you cut me half of that?
A cake-related fat-phobic incident, or CRFI, is that moment when it's time to eat delicious cake and it's interrupted by a moralizing impulse. Inevitably, there's always someone at the party who has to declare publicly that their slice is too large, and that the person who's cutting the cake, almost invariably a woman, must do some disproportionate amount of labor in order to accommodate their need to feel superior. Let's take a look.
Can you do a little bit, can you scrape all the frosting off and cut it in half and give me 2 forks, because I'm sharing. Small, a little bit more, tiny, no, less than what you're smaller, please.
Could you just cut my piece into 12 equal symmetrical little pieces and put each one into a tiny little Tupperware so that I can have a bite for each month of 2018? Thanks.
Smaller.
Let's take a step back and view what's happening through a critical feminist lens.
Oh, here we go.
CRFIs typically happen in environments where there are primarily or exclusively women. Women are disproportionately negatively affected by diet culture because diet culture maps onto sexism. Like many parts of diet culture, there is a significant performance component. You have to show others that you are being good. Controlling how much you eat is part of what it means to be a, quote, good woman. This kind of behavior is a way for people to keep other people in check through food moralizing, surveillance, and policing. These are the mechanisms that are at the core of diet culture and weight control. The idea that you can position yourself as superior to others through self-control and self-denial is super sexist. CRFIs have a history of creating a hierarchy among women and ultimately in maintaining misogynist expectations.
Let the women eat their cake. CRFIs. Do not commit a CRFI. That's a cake-related fat incident this holiday season. I want a Vergy-Tover in Chicago.
Oh,
it would be so much fun. It'd be more fun than
wish.
It'd be more fun than Dr. Awardi.
Oh my God! All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer
at 6:06, we return to some sanity. Tucker and Tom Homan on renting children at the border. 6:06.
Clouds and sun, a high of 35 at 6 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
A strike delivered to Amazon. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
We need them to sit down and negotiate with us, you know? We're not asking for too much, we're just asking for negotiation.
They didn't get that, so thousands of workers at Amazon warehouses from California to New York walked off the job an hour ago.
The Teamsters are representing Amazon's unionized warehouse workers, and they're calling for them to walk off the job. Amazon refuses to recognize and negotiate a contract with them, and that's been happening since they decided to vote for a union. And the workers are upset about pay, benefits, working conditions.
Sharon Crowley with Fox 5 TV in New York. Amazon says Christmas won't be ruined for anyone, that these workers represent 1% of their warehouse staff. Amazon also says that most of those on strike now aren't even Amazon employees, calling them third-party delivery drivers. Congress doesn't have much time left to approve new government funding by tomorrow night. President-elect Trump's opposition to a bipartisan agreement scrapped it, prompting House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries to say,
House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans.
Now, the GOP is working on a plan B.
The vice president-elect, J.D. Vance, didn't leave Speaker Johnson's office till almost 10 p.m., late enough that Vance's son, who was with him, was in his pajamas.
Fox's Peter Ducey.
Pressure from the president-elect read like this on Truth Social. Sounds like the ridiculous and extraordinarily expensive Continuing Resolution Plus is dying fast. And one of the things that made it so expensive, raises for members of Congress.
A California man's in custody, suspected of plotting to attack a government building amid reports he exchanged messages with a shooter in Monday's Madison, Wisconsin school shooting. A 15-year-old girl who killed herself after murdering 2 and wounding 6 others. Luigi Mangione due in court today in Pennsylvania. Could be sent to New York soon to face a murder charge in the killing of United Healthcare's CEO. America's listening to Fox News.
26 degrees at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Defense attorneys now getting their chance to call witnesses in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial. Federal prosecutors rested their case yesterday against the former Democrat Illinois House Speaker. Chicago Board of Education is calling a meeting tomorrow. Could vote on a possible termination or buyout agreement on the contract of CEO Pedro Martinez. Johnson has asked the CPS CEO to resign several times after refusing to take out a $300 million short-term payday-style loan to pay for a new teacher's contract and pension payments. Meantime, Alderwoman Deborah Silverstein is asking for the meeting to be scrubbed and rescheduled as it clashes with the Jewish Sabbath. For more than 3 decades, Cook County Sheriff's Office has been in charge of electronic monitoring. But over the years, the scope and rules have changed, and now Sheriff Tom Dart says he's done.
Then all of a sudden, we are getting murderers, rapists, armed robbers, carjackers on the program.
We explained to them this program isn't for that, and they said they didn't care.
Currently, there are more than 1,500 people on it in Cook County. 100 alone face murder or attempted murder charges. A Lake County judge is allowing prosecutors to present hours of police interrogation video of the Highland Park July 4 parade shooting suspect. Judge Victoria Rossetti denied a motion to suppress Robert Cremo III's testimony. Lake County State's Attorney Eric Reinhardt.
Our office agrees with the court's factual findings and legal rulings that police and prosecutors honored the defendant's constitutional rights during the questioning on July 4th and July 5th, 2022.
Cremo is scheduled to stand trial in February. And the former executive director of a Chicago area nonprofit is accused of embezzling millions of dollars in cash and real estate interests belonging to the organization. William Schneider of Antioch has been indicted. He served as executive director of a nonprofit that developed and provided affordable housing to low-income residents and senior citizens in the Chicago area and Florida from 2018 to 2022. Prosecutors say he fraudulently transferred cash and real estate interests from the nonprofit to himself. The Bulls take a swing at the defending champs when they visit the Celtics tonight. Bulls have won their last two. The Blackhawks go for their third win in a row when they host Seattle tonight. College hoops last night, Loyola beat Canisius. Bradley edged out San Francisco 66-64. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a party. Join us for our inauguration celebration on January 20th at Saddle Up Q in Aurora. Enjoy a brunch buffet with AM 560 listeners as we watch the inauguration of President Trump. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/Trump47. That's 560theanswer.com/Trump47.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
Trump's victory doesn't mean our financial worries are over. Far from it. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul here. For the past few decades, I believe our nation's economic foundation has crumbled, all due to Washington's addiction to spending and currency manipulation. These problems won't vanish overnight, and that's why I've supported gold IRAs for years. These accounts let you hold tax-advantaged gold with no penalties or taxes when you transfer your IRA or 401k. Birch Gold Group is the leader in gold IRAs. They understand true wealth preservation means breaking free from the system. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898. Secure your savings with gold today. Text PROTECT to 989898 now for your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
This is Seth Leibson for Townhall.com. The great social philosopher and writer Irving Kristol once put it that foreign policy is not that difficult. All you need is a moral sense of right and wrong. Of course, finding such people, especially as they are trained in today's university, is increasingly difficult. How refreshing, then, to see the foreign and defense policy of the United States shaping up as it is in the incoming Trump administration. Anyone wanting a sense of our new foreign and defense strategy ought to watch the interview Dr. Sebastian Gorka gave to the Free Press this past weekend. Gorka, long a national radio host with Salem, among other things, will be President Trump's senior director for counterterrorism at the White House National Security Council. In his interview, Gorka articulates a moral clarity and vision for our and our allies' defenses that is perfect for our times, correcting so many misbegotten theories and foreign policy ideas of the past. Gorka shows the ground as neither interventionist nor isolationist. He'll be a serious addition to a serious team. I'm Seth Leibson.
.608. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time is a service of almostfreeteeth.com. With a Blue Cross Blue Shield PPO or FEP, it's possible to get 100% of your smile back. Check if you qualify at almostfreeteeth.com. The Kennedy, pretty normal, 27 in, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange, and they've cleared an accident outbound Dan Ryan in the locals at 63rd. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, times of clouds and sun, a high 35. A bit of snow tonight, could see about an inch, low down to 31. Clouds and breezy, snow tomorrow morning, 1 to 3 inches. Flurries by afternoon, high tomorrow at 35. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
Currently 26, next news at 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Tom Homan continues to make the rounds in advance of his official installation as the point man for Trump's immigration enforcement changes. He was at the border with Dr. Phil. I mean, again, just talking about sort of the layers of depravity here when you begin looking at all of the horrors unleashed by open borders policies. Renting kids.
Oh, God.
And there's been many investigations where some of these children are actually rented by the cartels. If you come with a child, you're not going to be detained, right? So the family groups won't be detained. So they'll rent a child to a male adult, use this child, get across the border, be released. Then the child goes back and be re-rented. Who knows what happens to that child and whose possession they're putting that child in?
Yeah, I've had border guards tell me, I've seen this child come through here 5 or 6 times. I recognize this child.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, as they continue the conversation, they talk about, well, then when you stop seeing that child used 4 or 5 times to escort somebody the cartel wants in this country illegally across the border, when you stop seeing that child, what happened to that child? Well, he or she gets added to the list of 325 to 500,000 kids that have gone missing under DHS. We talked yesterday about how big this problem is just in sanctuary jurisdictions, where a majority of the people estimated to have entered this country illegally under Biden are present. 56%, I think, was the number of the 8 million. I mean, so in Illinois, for example, I don't think this has been reported. This is from the Center for Immigration Studies. Statewide, the number they put Illinois' illegal immigrant population at is north of 500,000. So, boy, when we get into really unpacking how much money has been spent at the city, the regional, as well as the state level on people in this state illegally, I think it's going to be a lot bigger number than even we understand now, and we understand it to be in the billions of dollars now. In addition to, of course, the more important matter of the exploitation of children, the murder and victimization of people on both sides of the border by people who should never be on this side of the border. I mean, those are the fundamental issues, but there are a bunch of associated issues that need to be discussed as well. And so it was interesting. So that was Homan at the border with Dr. Phil. One of the things that Tom Homan revealed in his sit-down with Tucker Carlson recently is that the whole idea of shipping people entering this country illegally to these sanctuary jurisdictions we're discussing, even though it was implemented by Abbott and to a lesser extent DeSantis, it was actually an idea that Trump had. And
really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either. And maybe they'll revisit it. Tucker Carlson certainly wants him to do so, and he's got specific zip codes to put on the destination list.
The people who did this are rich white liberals in the United States who hate themselves and the country, and to punish it, they invited all these people illegally from failed countries, but they can't stand the idea of living near these people because they're racist. Yeah. So why wouldn't you move every Haitian to Bethesda and Brookline and Aspen and Martha's Vineyard and Nantucket like today? Can we do that? I will donate money if we can do that.
We absolutely could. Look what the Martha's Vineyards did. They put them on there, kind of like, this whole
they called
thing.
The cops immediately because they're racist.
Governor Abbott done more to secure this border than anybody in this administration. Guy's great. DeSantis the same. Do you know who first came up with the idea of busing people to sanctuary cities? It was President Trump. I remember sitting in the Oval Office one time. He said, "Why don't we do that?" So we started putting plans together. But the Remain in Mexico program was such a game changer, we couldn't fill a bus up if we wanted to. So we beat the problem before we actually got to that. That was really
the problem, though, is that the people doing it didn't have a precise enough understanding of rich white liberal culture, but I do. So they would bus them to New York, then they wind up in Midtown and Queens. Okay, none of the people who are doing this were affected by it. But I could give you a list of zip codes where, like, Tony Blinken lives and stuff like that, because I know that world. They need to be moved into the neighborhoods of the people who are calling you racist for wanting to have laws and borders. Like, they need to feel the effects of their own destruction. So just text me and I will send you the zip codes. I mean it too. Because what happened is they opened the borders and then all these people like moved to Jackson, Wyoming, to the least diverse zip codes in the country. They literally ran to the hills to get away from diversity.
I think we need to add to that, though, the senators and congressmen are pushing back on border security.
100%.
You know, moving illegal aliens right outside of the Vice President Kamala Harris's residence, that was a game changer too. So I think not only those who are well financed, how about the politicians who are pushing back against any form of enforcement of our border laws?
Well, that's why Bernie Sanders needs a ton of Haitians in Vermont, because it's blindingly white. It needs to change. I couldn't agree more.
My God.
Blindingly white, yeah.
So what zip codes do you want on the list?
Blindingly White was the name of my garage band.
Oh, right.
We were an ELO tribute band.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
What zip codes should we have them shipped to here in Chicago area?
Oh,
Hillsdale, Wilmette.
I've got a list. Yeah,
Kenilworth.
Easily. I can send a list to Tom Homan as well. I mean, this is what was proposed here, and remember the hue and cry. Josh McBroom, the city councilman from Naperville. Oh, that's right. Everybody who wants to volunteer to host a migrant, let's put a list out there at City Hall, and then we'll send that list to the Department of Homeland Security once we get to critical mass where we can really start to resettle migrants in Naperville. Oh, this is terrible, Josh. Come on, you're right, of course, because they like...
Now it's in your face.
Well, exactly, and it is what Tucker said. They love diversity from a distance.
Yeah.
From a safe distance.
And then as soon as it gets into their neighborhood, they run to the White Hills of Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
Yeah, blindingly white.
But think about it. I mean, if they couldn't have kept those... Eagle Pass, Texas is a town of 30,000. You can't bring in 10,000, 50, close to 1 million people. There was no space for them, so they had to bus them somewhere. So that was a brilliant idea to take them to the blue cities, the sanctuary cities.
Well, it was interesting as well, Holman making the point of how effective Remain in Mexico was, that we didn't have people to bus to make the point. Well, obviously the point now with all the people in this country illegally, and the 14 million I mean, if those Center for Immigration Studies numbers are ballpark, that's what we're talking about. 8 million in sanctuary cities, and sanctuary states, sanctuary jurisdictions. So you've got, a massive undertaking, and the prioritization that we've talked about ad nauseum with people in this country illegally who have committed a violent crime or are awaiting trial for a violent crime being at the top of that list. So that is a massive undertaking, just that first responsibility, that first priority. But it doesn't mean that in the interim you can't still make the point. Homan has called for essentially withholding federal funds from sanctuary jurisdictions. I think the supremacy clause, actually Alan Dershowitz argues that point in a Wall Street Journal editorial today. I think the supremacy clause would allow the federal government to do that. So certainly there's the punishment, but the most effective thing, and why Greg Abbott has been the most important person for border security in the country during the Biden years, is because nothing brings it home more so than putting the problem at your doorstep. Right. And that's what busing migrants to places, again, they wanted to go. Where would you like to go? Chicago? Okay, here's the bus to Chicago. New York? Okay, here's the bus to New York.
They knew where they were going.
But nothing brings it home like bringing it home, and that's what Abbott did. And I still think there's an avenue to do that, and to do it not Tucker's point about New York and Chicago, right? New York, Chicago, but it's not in the Tony areas of New York. It's not on the Gold Coast in Chicago. It's at police stations in the South Loop and places like that.
Or Wrigleyville, we had them there for almost more than a year.
But it's police stations. It's still not outside the vice president's residence. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And that's where it should be. It should be downtown Wilmette. It should be at the Starbucks in Hinsdale. It should be in Elmhurst and Naperville and Glen Ellen. That's bringing it home. And to the extent that we're working through that prioritization, and it's going to take some time, but we've got a beat on some people that are milling about. I don't know, maybe set up temporary, let's call them residential centers. Yeah. Temporary residential centers, but set them up on the North Shore in the wealthy western suburbs, the wealthy west central Cook suburbs, Oak Park and River Forest. Let's do it. Let's see the administration do it. Nothing brings it home like bringing it home. That's the lesson. And meanwhile, there are other things happening, too, including some resistance to the resistance. So we'll see how this plays out, even in Illinois, perhaps, if it's happening in San Diego, and it is. Immigration policy adopted by the San Diego County Board of Supervisors is supposed to stop jails from working with federal immigration officials. But the county is now locked in a standoff because the San Diego County Sheriff, a woman named Kelly Martinez, said, no, I'm not on board with that. So the San Diego County Board, think Cook County Board, on board with it, but their version of Tom Dart, although she's clearly much better.
Does she like puppies?
Not going to comply. She's actually going to work with federal law enforcement on the issue of, law enforcement. The sheriff is an independently elected official, sets the policy for the sheriff's office. The sheriff has the sole and exclusive authority to operate county jails. And she said, we do not plan to seek legal action against the county regarding the board's policy. However, I want to assure the public that the sheriff's office will continue to follow existing state law and maintain our current practices, which reflect years of experience in balancing public safety with community trust. That's a very genteel, politically savvy way of saying I disagree, and we're not going along with the County Board of Supervisors, even though she and the majority are Democrats. But the sheriff is too. She's a Democrat. So
that's a little change. That's good.
A
little bit of hope this Christmas season.
There's also legislation afoot that's going to stop making it so attractive, stop making the invitation that that Tucker Carlson spoke of, that we've been speaking about for years now, the invitation to come here, less attractive. Mike Lee, senator from Utah, has introduced the America First Act, which would remove eligibility for a variety of federal benefits from non-citizens. Now, states and localities can still provide benefits to people within their jurisdictions. That's up to the states and the locals. But at the federal level, you're seeing evidence that paradigm shift is happening, and it's happening right quick in anticipation of January 20th and the new administration. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animal.
The Answer.
You've probably heard about the efforts by automakers to take AM radio out of new vehicles. This initiative gained momentum during the Biden administration in the push for the nonsense EVs. So as we enter a new political era, thank God, it's crucial that voices like ours and the content you hear on this radio station remain accessible for all vehicles. You can help secure the future of AM radio simply by texting AM to 52886. And urge your member of Congress to support the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Just text AM to 52886.
From breaking news and weather across the country to insight from the brightest minds in conservative opinion, it's Salem News Channel, home to the biggest shows on TV, like Hugh Hewitt weekdays at 6 a.m. Eastern, followed by Mike Gallagher at 9. Join SNC, where facts are sacred, critical thinking is celebrated, and the pursuit of truth is unwavering. Watch Salem News Channel free, now on Zumo Play. Learn more at snc.tv/Zumo.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity. Better is around the corner in 2025. Feeling better, of course, getting rid of joint pain for once and for all. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. Their patients are able to walk up and down the stairs, sit and get back up. They can finally sleep. Wouldn't it be great to feel normal again? And that could be you. So call QC Kinetics now, today. Say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. Saturday appointments available, no downtime. Just imagine a new year without achy joints. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025. Get started now. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
2 weeks after I had been taken, after I had started taking them, I told the wife, I said, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm 20 years old. Ever since, I just stayed on it. And I'm not the most educated guy, but anyhow, I'm not the dumbest guy in the area. And I do know what they got in there, just reading on it and everything. I'm pleased with it. Anybody I speak to, I convince them right away that give it a try.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Don't wait until the end of the year to move your assets around. Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 one-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, people keep asking what I want for Christmas, Amy.
Oh, you haven't responded to my emails either.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to cede my answer to that question to Jim Gaffigan, who offers some very helpful tips on gift giving this Christmas season. Please pay particular attention to Jim Gaffigan.
Now, what you get them is obviously up to you, but here's what you should not give anyone this holiday season.
A bra.
Don't give them food. You're giving someone a gift, not arriving at a potluck. I understand cookies, candy, and fruit may seem like a thoughtful, delicious idea, but nobody wants anything perishable. Instead of food, a great gift would be alcohol. Booze never goes bad, and based on the world we live in today, everyone needs it. It's not even noon, and just thinking about some of the conversations I'll be having this December makes me want to drink. Another thing nobody wants is clothing. Unless you're a personal shopper, you are not qualified to buy clothing for someone else. I don't care if there's a gift receipt. That's just like giving someone an errand. Instead of clothing, a great gift would be alcohol. Now you may think, but Jim, what if they don't want alcohol? That's fine. Then they'll re-gift it. No gift receipt necessary. Here's another no. Don't give gift cards. They're unimaginative and lazy. The gift card is just going to be lost. In 5 years, when the gift card is finally found, it'll be expired and just provide stress and guilt.
Those things expire?
Instead, a great gift would be alcohol. The alcohol can be used to numb the pain from misplacing all those gift cards. You may think, but Jim, alcohol is never the answer. Well, sometimes alcohol gets pretty close. Finally, don't give someone socks this holiday season.
I
yes,
wrapped
socks
them
are
up.
practical, but wildly impersonal. You may think, but Jim, socks will keep them warm during the winter. If you really want to keep someone warm this
Let me
winter,
guess.
a great gift would be...
Is?
You thought I was going to say alcohol, didn't you? Well, I am. Because alcohol could warm your heart during a winter which we all know is going to be filled with a lot of awkwardness. You may also think, but Jim, alcohol is poison. Yes, it is. And like most parents of teenagers, I'm going to need some of that poison. If you're thinking of getting me a present this holiday season and wondering what I might want, to be honest, I would appreciate any gift, as long as it's alcohol.
Yeah, I'm with Gaffigan on that, so I hope that came across with clarity.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, Jay Powell stopped watching young girls talk about oral sex long enough to cut interest rates by a quarter point. We'll start there with Scott the Cow Guy Shellady, 6:36.
It's quite the tease, Dan.
Thank
but
you.
First, let's head into that newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
Just for clarification, in 2010, a
Yes.
federal law went into effect that says a gift card cannot expire for 5 years.
I have a
But it can expire, and in fact, some states have actual longer periods, but I'm not going to dig into it that far.
Oh, that's interesting.
You can find out for yourself.
I have a
But
stack, even from coaching at Blaine back in like 2010.
Bankrate said a couple of weeks ago the average American has at least $187
That's about right.
in gift cards in a drawer somewhere.
Well, this is the point that Jim Gaffigan makes. Just give
Right.
booze.
Right.
I mean, that's just so simple, so
You
elegant.
would not believe the booze coming out of Costco last night.
I
Holy
bet.
mackerel. 6:33 on AM 560, The Answer. Thousands of Amazon workers are walking off the job. The Teamsters Union says workers are leaving facilities in New York, California, here in Skokie, and in Atlanta. They're seeking better pay, longer breaks, and safer conditions.
The issue at hand, says the Teamsters Union, is that Amazon rakes in more money than anybody, yet subjects its workers to injury and abuse at every turn. Amazon has condemned the union of illegally coercing employees and misleading the public.
Amazon argues the drivers are not employees but third-party contractors. This morning, the Department of Justice accuses pharmacy chain CVS of illegally dispensing massive quantities of opioids in the name of profit over public safety. The lawsuit says for more than a decade, they filled dubious prescriptions for controlled substances. The Dow fell drastically yesterday, losing over 1,000 points right before the market close. The S&P lost 178. The NASDAQ fell 3.5%. The Fed did cut interest rates by a quarter point Wednesday, but investors turned sour when they learned the Fed would likely only cut rates twice in 2025. Turning our eyes to Washington, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries speaking out after Republicans rejected a bipartisan spending bill this morning. Florida Congressman Corey Mills is urging Congress to get back to the job they need to do, being fiscally responsible.
We look at the fact that we're at $36 trillion. We're going to spend more this year for the first time in the interest payments on our debt than we do in our entire national defense spending.
Congressional leadership had announced a deal on Tuesday, but Republicans rejected it after the president-elect did not support the bill. Defense attorneys are getting their chance to call their own witnesses in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial. Federal prosecutors rested their case yesterday against the former Democrat and Illinois House Speaker. Cook County prosecutors are dropping charges against an Oak Lawn police officer accused of punching a teen boy who fled from a traffic stop in the southwest suburb in 2022. Officer Patrick O'Donnell was charged with aggravated battery and official misconduct. The charges stem from the July 2022 arrest of Hadi Abutela. Activists, as expected, were outraged at the legal action.
So one of her first actions as state's attorney is not to try to solve the numerous unsolved murders, but rather to vacate the charges against an officer who beat a minor almost to death in the street.
The teen's family has filed a civil rights lawsuit, a civil suit against the officers and the village. Chicago sports. Bulls and Celtics at the TD Garden tonight. The Blackhawks go for their third win in a row when they host Seattle. And the White Sox bring in some starting rotation help, inking right-handed pitcher Bryce Wilson to a one-year deal. He spent the last 2 seasons with Milwaukee. The news, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, hot air roasted locally and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online for you at papanicholas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2025? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest presented by Team Hochberg. Enter once per day, every day between now and December 20th, and you could have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
If you're self-employed and purchase your own health insurance, I have some great news. From now until January 15th, the health insurance exchanges are open again. And even if you've never qualified for a health insurance subsidy before, you most likely will now. The American Rescue Plan expanded subsidy eligibility to millions of Americans who have never qualified before, even to those with high income levels. And this year, you can purchase a PPO policy, which includes access to Northwestern Medical Group. Employers who provide small group coverage also have new options, and so do seniors looking for Medicare supplement coverage. Call me. I can help.
If you're tired of calling a bureaucrat at an 800 number to help you navigate Obamacare, then you need a local expert on your side. C. Stephen Tucker from healthinsurancementors.com is someone I know and trust. He's a 30-year licensed broker who's been educating our listeners for more than 10 years. Steve, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Thanks, Dan. They can visit healthinsurancementors.com or call me directly at 630-674-1551. 630-674-1551.
If you have unfiled taxes or are in debt to the IRS, this is important news. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Struggling with high cloud hosting costs and endless management headaches with your Microsoft Azure or AWS environment? Contact AmericanEagle.com for an assessment and see how they can save you time and money.
6:39 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update, a service of Discover. Accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. 99%. Maybe it's time to face some facts. You're stuck in the past based on the February 2024 Nielsen report. Discover.com/credit card. Bishop Ford, on the inbound side, commuters, we've got an accident. Left lane between 159th and 154th. Tri-State accident with a left lane blocked northbound between the Bishop Ford and Halstead. It's on 294 this morning. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun with a high of 35. Cloudy and 26 right now. Next news at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The stock market took a dive yesterday.
Sure did.
In response to, maybe in part response to the continuing spendthrift attitudes of Congress, the CR that we were talking about earlier that now needs to be redrafted by Speaker Johnson. We'll talk to Scott, the cow guy, about that a bit too. But also because Jay Powell took a dimmer view of rate cuts in 2025 than previously believed. Apparently now he's predicting just 2 interest rate cuts in 2025 as opposed to 4. And, that didn't set well with people. And after he announced yesterday that he would cut rates by another 25 basis points, bringing the total to 100 basis points for 2024, he said, then I have to go because I want to get back to watching young women talk about oral sex. So my favorite podcast, Call Her Daddy. So he only has so much time. He only has so much time to deal with rates. He has other things to do, is my point.
If that's his hobby, if that's his release, there's something wrong with that
His
guy.
release. Interesting choice of words.
Did I say that?
It's unfortunate. For more on this, the interest rate piece of it.
Of course, yes.
Scott the Cow Guy Shellady is a market specialist for Market Day Report. That's 10:30 to 1 p.m. And the Cow Guy Close, he hosts from 1 to 1:30. Those both at RFD TV. Scott the Cow Guy, thank you as always.
Yeah, good morning.
Call Her Daddy enthusiast Jay Powell's posture on interest rates yesterday and prospectively, your view.
Well, he shouldn't have cut rates yesterday. He did, and in doing so, he opened up Pandora's box. He talks too much. He's He's way too transparent. I mean, the Fed thinks that transparency is a good thing. I think transparency from the Fed is a bad thing. I think Alan Greenspan would agree with me. It doesn't give you any wiggle room. If you decide to change your mind, you look like a flip-flopper. But that's a whole nother television show we can do on that. But when it comes to the Fed and its 2% inflation policy or target, they've abandoned that, I think, and they haven't quite said it yet. But they're going to have to let inflation run a little higher than we thought and a little longer than we thought because we've got a debt problem. We spend too much money. And they're going to try to inflate our way out of our problem. And then in order to do so, they're going to have to let inflation run. And so they've kind of turned their back on inflation, or at least that goal of getting it down to 2%. I think they're going to let it run between 3 and 4%. And they're going to go for growth. And they're going to try to have to manage growth. At the same time, they're going to have to manage inflation. Inflation's proven to be sticky. The last two reads of CPI and PPI are both telling us that, especially PPI. And if PPI coming in as hot as it did not stop the Fed from cutting rates, I don't know what was going to, because the rate cut yesterday was bad behavior. They were acquiescing to all the 38-year-olds on Wall Street that think 4.75% rates is much, much too high. And so I think that by doing that, you know, he bent the knee to these young people that are still beating them up over getting these rate cuts when we don't really need it. And arguably, you could say, yeah, maybe 70% of America is struggling, and I think they are. That's why Trump won the election. And they probably could use a rate cut, but these rate cuts, nobody believes them because they cut rates, and then everything that we base our credit card interest rates off of and our mortgages is the 10-year yield. Every time they cut rates, the 10-year yield goes up, not down. Oh. Because the 10-year yield is smarter than the Fed, and it's telling us we've got some problems ahead. We've got the debt to worry about. We've got maybe some inflationary policies from a pro-growth policy from the new administration. We're not quite sure yet. The 10-year yield's still worried about what maybe tariffs would do to prices. So there's still a lot of things out there that you probably want to be careful about cutting rates for. But now he went ahead and did it, and then he talked too much, and he got fed his lunch.
Well, here's Vivek Ramaswamy on the continuing resolution that was to keep the government running, quote unquote, till March. That was larded up and dispensed with after outcry from the two Bobs and Trump and Vance and Rand Paul and others. Here's Vivek.
Congress is about to pass a bill that blows away your taxpayer money, but they made it over 1,500 pages long so you wouldn't read it. I did you a favor. I read it for you.
It's supposed to be about keeping government operations open and providing disaster relief aid to hurricane victims, which I'm sympathetic to. But if you read the bill carefully, it contains pay raises for members of Congress, and I'm not making this up, an expansion of their federal health benefits. It contains all kinds of special interests and pork funding, including opening up a new stadium in Washington, D.C. It renews the Global Engagement Center, which is a key node of the censorship industrial complex. And the worst part is, they didn't want you to know about any of it, and that's why they made this a last-minute jam job. The reason I'm co-heading DOGE is I think we need outsiders to bring actual accountability to Washington, D.C. So feel free to call your congressman and let him know how you feel about it.
Yeah, you go ahead and put those calls into Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth, see how that works out for you. But and we'll get to Global Engagement Center later in the show, by the way, because I'm glad he raised that. But, Scott, here's the interesting thing about what you just said and what you're hearing from some of the opinion leaders within the incoming administration. If Powell and the Fed are going to let inflation tick up and run at 3% and 4%, and so people are not going to see relief in terms of their purchasing power, then it provides perhaps more leverage for Elon and Vivek et al., as well as more of an imperative for recalcitrant Republicans on the Hill to cut spending, and it also may inhibit Trump from deploying his favorite policy tool, tariffs, other than rhetorically as leverage for other things. And so the net of it could be positive. It may just provide the pressure on the administration that forces Republicans to do some of the things they don't otherwise want to do.
Yeah, I think that absolutely could happen. They're not used to not spending. They're not used to being held accountable. And that's both sides of the aisle. I think it's going to be difficult for Donald Trump to bring prices down. The only way that we're going to see prices come down, folks, is if we see a negative number when we talk about our CPI or our PPI. I said we have to see a negative number. We still have our CPI, our Consumer Price Index, which is what we usually look at for inflation purposes, is at 2.7%. Well, what does that mean? It means prices today are still 2.7% higher than they were this time last year.
Right.
So if you want to bring prices down, you can't bring CPI down. That just means prices are going up at a slower pace. He needs to have a negative in front of that, and I think that's going to be very difficult. I think he's already started to walk back his bringing the price of eggs down rhetoric, because I think he sees that that's going to be a very hard problem, considering the fact that we are, in 400 days, Dan, we're going to be $40 trillion in debt, the way we're going. And there doesn't seem to be any stopping that, especially with the behaviors that we just saw over the last, say, 18 to 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a change. It's untenable. But it just seems to me, and I think there's a few on the Hill now, that see that this is a one-way street. We can't turn around. And the only way we have to do is we have to kind of start over, because I don't know how you retrain these people. They know they can't go to Washington and say that we're going to spend less and cut back on your entitlements. But ultimately, that's what's going to have to happen. We're going to have to rework Social Security, and we're going to have to cut spending. But nobody's got the cojones to say that right now. And I think that Trump sees that. I think the smart people on the Hill see that. They know that any Western government that's gotten in the same problems fiscally as we have has had to inflate their way out of it. They've all had to do it. There's no other way. So get used to a positive CPI, because I think that's what we're going to be looking at here for the next 4 years.
Well, we had Jim Urio on the program the other day, and we were talking about this in pertinent part two, and this is before, some of the drama of the last 24 to 36 hours on this continuing resolution. And, the question comes, is it going to take a bond or a currency crisis to get people to act? And if that is what will be required, it's got to be, if they're just unwilling to make the sustained argument to build consensus around sensible fiscal restraint, then it's going to take an exogenous event. I mean, how, on this track, as you say, in 6 months, $40 trillion in debt. I mean, is there any sense of how far the gathering storm is with respect to the possibility of a bond or currency crisis?
Well, I mean, the bond or currency crisis you talk about, I mean, let's just say people talk about us defaulting, right? We won't default. We'll have a structural default, which was basically we'll continue to print money to pay our bills, but we're going to continue to have inflation, and all the money that we're going to be paying back our bondholders with is going to be worthless cash. That's a structural default. That's probably what we're looking at. But also, you've seen some of these other Western governments, Germany, France, and to some degree maybe even South Korea. You've seen all the tumult that's been happening over there with all of their Western governments. You know where that's mainly coming from? People wanting to spend less, and their legislatures not wanting to do it. Wait till you really see DOGE make some impact with our own legislators, because I guarantee you're going to find a lot of them are singing the praises of DOGE right now, but when it comes to cutting something in my constituency, in my backyard, they're going to be a big hard no. Totally. And that's going to be a problem too. So I think that this is going to be a very tumultuous year because of our debt problem, because they're going to say they like the idea of cutting spending, but not my spending. And we've still got all these problems that really haven't been solved from the last administration.
So then if inflation continues to run hotter than anticipated, hotter than, let's say, maybe not anticipated, but hotter than Jay Powell's magical goal of 2%, and you don't get the spending reductions that are required to start to inspire confidence that we're going to bring our financial house in order, then what happens to the markets? As long as the funny money is flowing, the markets continue to pump up the people's 401ks?
Well, I mean, this is where I've always been a skeptic, and I think that, I think yesterday's movement in the markets was welcome for me, at least. I am invested. I'm not fully invested, but you have to be a part of the scheme to make some money. But I would say this: the positive is for everything is that we actually do have a pro-growth president, And the one thing I think, I've been asked this question for 30 years. I actually did it on television 2 days ago. I've been doing TV for 25 years. This question has always been asked to me is, what is going to be the next thing that could really reshape our economy like the internet did? And I'm telling you, if this artificial intelligence comes to be like I think it can come to be, as John Chambers did, who used to run Fiscal, said, it'll be bigger than the internet and cloud computing combined. And if we can actually have some productivity, and our productivity gets us out of all these problems, we could actually produce ourselves out of this problem. That is, that's a foreign concept for over the last 4 years because Democrats don't think that way. But if we actually do get the economy humming, we can handle 3 to 4% inflation. We can handle a 10-year yield close to 5%, and you could still see 10 to 15% put on a lot of our indices because the economy is doing so well and the money is flowing because of our productivity and because of artificial intelligence. That is the one thing I think we could pin our hopes on, because if that does come true, that's like scoring a lot of touchdowns even though your defense sucks.
We're gonna Loyola Marymount our way to stability. I love it. Scott the Cow Guy Shellady. Well, let me get the particulars here. Of course, he is the market specialist for Market Day Report, 10:30 to 1 p.m. The Cow Guy Close he hosts from 1 to 1:30, both at RFD TV. Scott, Merry Christmas. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thank you guys. Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Santa's coming to town. Oh, my God.
On AM 560.
Santa here? I know him.
The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity. All right, looking for a trustworthy garage to keep your Dodge Ram 45 or 5500 Cummins engine in tip-top shape? Look no further than our good friends at Remke's Garage in Marengo. At Remke's Garage, their team specializes in everything from routine maintenance to complex repairs, including diesel engine repair for your Dodge Cummins. Their experienced team treats every car like it's their own, plus they believe in transparency, no surprises, just honest service and fair pricing. So check out the incredible reviews that satisfied customers have left on Google as they speak for themselves. With state-of-the-art equipment and a commitment to quality, they're proud to be your local choice for automotive care. And here's the best part. They offer free pickup and drop-off for your convenience. Both individually owned and fleet vehicle programs available to meet your needs. So why wait? Swing by Remke's Garage today and let them get you back on the road with confidence. Visit remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America.
Our goal is to provide patients with the strongest, most effective, and safest options in this exciting field of regenerative medicine.
Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, National Medical Director at QC Kinetics.
The idea that you can avoid a joint replacement is very exciting.
And that's from a surgeon who's done thousands of joint replacements, but who now believes there's a better way.
Regenerative medicine, as we understand it today, gives lasting pain relief, improved function, without surgery, without drugs.
Under Dr. Scheinkup's leadership, QC Kinetics medical professionals treat patients every day with the most advanced protocols in natural biologics. Literally tens of thousands of people all over America.
I've been doing research on regenerative medicine for 2 decades. This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world one life at a time.
2 weeks after I had been taken, after I had started taking them, I told the wife, I said, I don't know what it is, but I feel like I'm 20 years old. Ever since, I just stayed on it. And I'm not the most educated guy, but anyhow, I'm not the dumbest guy in the area. And I do know what they got in there, just reading on it and everything. I'm pleased with it. Anybody I speak to, I convince them right away that give it a try.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
AM 560, The Answer.
I am so excited for our next guest, Dan.
At 7:07, documentarian Liz Cullen on the prospect that former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin could be entitled to a new trial in the George Floyd killing. That's 7:07.
Yeah, new information about heart tissue. We can about George Floyd, too, as well. But first, we have to stop by the newsroom to get the latest from here at home and around the world. Here's the one and only Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Prosecutors have rested their case in the Madigan trial. The defense is next. Charges dropped against an Oak Lawn police officer accused of punching a teen. The Illinois State Police expanding move over alerts to many more drivers coming soon. The Bulls visit the Celtics tonight. Blackhawks host the Kraken, and the White Sox add a right-handed pitcher. WIND Chicago News Time, 7.
Instead of delivering, they're picketing. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. That's in Queens, New York this morning, one of 7 Amazon locations where workers walked out a few hours ago. Haley Fixler there with Fox 5 TV.
They're chanting that Amazon is unfair, and even trucks passing by, they are honking their horns in support. Now, union officers tell us they want to negotiate with Amazon. They say that the company will not negotiate a contract with them. Union leaders say they want the company to give them better benefits, more money, and they really want them to prioritize safety.
Amazon says it prefers direct negotiations with the workers, while adding that many of those who went on strike are not actually Amazon employees, saying they're third-party delivery drivers and only a small percentage of Amazon warehouse staff. So the online retail giant says it does not expect the strike to impact operations. The FAA has issued a temporary ban on flying most drones in several areas of New Jersey through January 17th after weeks of drone sightings led to safety concerns, though the Biden administration insists there's no public threat. Now to the drama in Congress.
President Trump is going to have to consider coming to Washington. I mean, let's face it, he's the president now. It's not President Biden.
Republican Senator John Kennedy on Fox the morning after the president-elect came out against a bipartisan spending bill, prompting House Republicans to scrap it and work on a plan B.
Democrats are not in the House are not going to go along with it. Mike's problem, Speaker Johnson's problem, is that on the Republican side, he's got a bunch of free-range chickens.
House Democrats say it'll be Republicans' fault if funding isn't approved by tomorrow night and there's a government shutdown. A California man detained, suspected of plotting to attack a government building.
A plan they say he coordinated with the Wisconsin school shooter. According to a gun violence restraining order obtained by KFMB, Alexander Poffendorf admitted to the FBI he shared his plans with the team.
Fox's Carmen Roberts, that shooter killed herself Monday at her Christian school in Madison, Wisconsin after murdering a teacher and a student and wounding 6 others. America's listening to Fox News.
26 degrees at 7:02 on AM 560, The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. And topping our news this morning, CTA trains in the loop near Clark and Lake are delayed. Brown, green, purple, orange, and even a pink line train or two are experiencing delays, all due to police activity at Clark and Lake in the loop this morning. Thousands of Amazon workers are walking off the job. The Teamsters Union says workers have left the job in facilities in New York, California, Atlanta, and here in Skokie. Teamsters President Sean O'Brien says if the package you're expecting is delayed, you can blame Amazon. Amazon argues the drivers there are not employees but third-party contractors. Defense attorneys are getting their chance to call their own witnesses in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial. Federal prosecutors rested their case yesterday. Chicago Board of Education called a meeting tomorrow and could vote on a possible termination or a buyout agreement on the contract of CEO Pedro Martinez. Johnson asked the CPS CEO, that would be Mayor Brandon Johnson, asked the CEO to resign earlier this year after he refused to take out a $300 million short-term high-interest payday-style loan simply to fund a new teacher's contract and a few pension payments. Cook County prosecutors are dropping charges against an Oak Lawn police officer accused of punching a teen boy who fled from a traffic stop in 2022. Officer Patrick O'Donnell was charged with aggravated battery and official misconduct. Activists, as expected, were outraged at the legal action.
So one of her first actions as state's attorney is not to try to solve the numerous unsolved murders, but rather to vacate the charges against an officer who beat a minor almost to death in the street.
Video showed O'Donnell and two other officers restraining the teen on the ground, and some punches were thrown. A civil rights lawsuit has been filed against the officers and the village. The Bulls take on the Celtics at the TD Garden tonight. Bulls have won 2 straight. Blackhawks go for 3 in a row when they host Seattle at the UC tonight. College hoops, Loyola beat Canisius 72-60. Illinois State beat Northern Illinois 81-60. The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. For less than the price of a monthly car payment, Turnkey will fully protect your network with up-to-date cyber protection and real-time threat hunting. Protect your small business today. Visit Turnkey.pro today. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a party. Join us for our inauguration celebration on January 20th at Saddle Up Q in Aurora. Enjoy a brunch buffet with AM 560 listeners as we watch the inauguration of President Trump. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/Trump47. That's 560theanswer.com/Trump47.
Trump's victory doesn't mean our financial worries are over. Far from it. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul here. For the past few decades, I believe our nation's economic foundation has crumbled, all due to Washington's addiction to spending and currency manipulation. These problems won't vanish overnight, and that's why I've supported gold IRAs for years. These accounts let you hold tax-advantaged gold with no penalties or taxes when you transfer your IRA or 401k. Birch Gold Group is the leader in gold IRAs. They understand true wealth preservation means breaking free from the system. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898. Secure your savings with gold today. Text PROTECT to 989898 now for your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
Spice up your Christmas with Balance of Nature's Fiber and Spice Supplement. Stir our Fiber and Spice Supplement into a glass of water with a splash of chilled apple juice to craft an amazing cider. Balance of Nature's Fiber and Spice Supplement is made with whole fiber and 12 aromatic spices like cinnamon, cloves, and nutmeg. Whether you're gathered around the Christmas tree, toasting with friends, or enjoying a quiet moment by the fireplace, our Fiber and Spice Supplement welcomes every moment with its comforting embrace. As we approach this special time of year, spice up your Christmas and add the Fiber and Spice Supplement to your Christmas list. Cheers to a season filled with joy and flavorful celebrations. Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:07 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, combining heritage and innovation in every Cup. Hot air roasted locally, cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Online at papanicholas.com. The Kennedy at 52 minutes, O'Hare into the Burn Circle interchange. Stevenson outbound, disabled vehicle on the exit ramp to Damon this morning, and an accident on the left shoulder on the Tri-State right after the Lincoln Oasis between 8094 and the Thornton Quarry. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Here's AccuWeather's Steve Williams.
Today, times of clouds and sun, a high 35. A bit of snow tonight, could see about an inch, low down to 31. Clouds and breezy, snow tomorrow morning, 1 to 3 inches. Flurries by afternoon, high tomorrow at 35. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
26 in clouds at O'Hare, 27 lakefront. Your next news update at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The documentary, The Fall of Minneapolis, that came out last year, made quite a splash. I mean, of course, it was ignored by the D.C. press corps because they have their story about what happened in Minneapolis to George Floyd, and they're sticking with it. They don't want any impertinent questions asked, people to consider anything other than what they concluded and reported incessantly, and then used to rationalize rioting and looting and violence on the streets of America's major cities in the summer of 2020. But you recall, thoughtful guys, thoughtful academics, after seeing The Fall of Minneapolis, like our friends Glenn Lowry, econ professor at Brown, John McWhorter, linguistics professor at Columbia, when they poured over the documentary after watching it, sort of gobsmacked. John McWhorter, for example, said, Derek Chauvin didn't kill that man.
Yep. A lot of people felt that way after watching it.
Glenn Lowry talked about the moral panic on race that turns, generally speaking, a miscreant like George Floyd into a heroic figure. Now, after that discussion, they sort of walked back some of their vehemence in support of the documentary and in towards the conclusion that Derek Chauvin did not kill George Floyd. But we have a development now, and the development is that a court this week has allowed Derek Chauvin and his representation to get heart tissue samples from George Floyd in furtherance of the supposition that Derek Floyd's kneeling on the back of George Floyd was not the proximate cause of his death. And if that could be concluded persuasively, then the prospect of a new trial may be in the offing for Derek Chauvin. For more on this, we're pleased to be joined by the producer of that documentary that I mentioned, The Fall of Minneapolis. She is Liz Collin, and she joins us now. Liz, thanks so much for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Yeah, hi, good morning. Good to talk to you guys again, Dan and Amy.
So, give us your take on this legal development for Derek Chauvin, and fold in, if you would, the pathologist, that forensic pathologist that apparently Chauvin's attorney did not discuss with Chauvin, someone that could have been brought in as an expert witness on behalf of Chauvin in the defense, and how impactful that was in this court's decision to allow that the Floyd heart tissue to be examined.
Yeah, we brought some of this out in the Fall of Minneapolis. There is this tumor that George Floyd had, this paraganglioma on his hip, and some doctors, multiple doctors, thought at the time this needs to be tested, and it stood out to them that it was not, that Dr. Andrew Baker did not test the tumor. And they were so alarmed that not only did they reach out to Derek Chauvin's attorney, according to correspondence, but they also even made a call to Judge Peter Cahill in Hennepin County at the time. So this was according to this new filing and some correspondence we've had with Derek Chauvin as well, some evidence that was ignored. In fact, Derek himself wasn't even aware of this until 2023, when all of these records were turned over to him. So this is part of his federal appeal. He actually has a state appeal that we've reported on just last week. That's been filed as well, a petition for relief. So this is going to allow a judge, I would say this is kind of considered Derek's first legal win. The judge has said they can go ahead and test the heart tissue and the fluids, and this will determine whether this paraganglioma is to blame. These catecholamines they secrete can lead to sudden cardiac death in some cases. It's kind of speculated that George Floyd had obviously more going on. George Floyd did die of a heart attack. That's already documented. Cardiopulmonary arrest are the first words that appear on his autopsy. So this is, just the next step here as Derek still is trying to get, a fair trial, which I think I've yet to find anyone that actually thinks he received one. Now that they've been able to hear all the facts, or to get his conviction overturned.
What did the original autopsy declare? How does fentanyl play in all of this, and how was the FBI involved?
So the original autopsy is done within 12 hours of George Floyd's death, but rather than releasing that to the public, an autopsy that in black and white says George Floyd did not die of asphyxiation. He did not die of strangulation. He had enlarged organs, blockage in his heart, COVID, this paraganglioma. He has 3 times the lethal amount of fentanyl in his system. He has a high amount of methamphetamine in his system as well. Rather than releasing that information to the public, prosecutors and the FBI are meeting for days, and it's about 5 days later that the autopsy is released to the public. This autopsy includes the word homicide, which did not first appear within the first document, and also the words basically complicated by law enforcement subdual also appear on the autopsy. And we've uncovered many public documents since about the pressure that Dr. Baker admitted to being under at the time of conducting the autopsy. People from around the country were contacting him, basically saying, you need to come to this one conclusion. He, in fact, had a phone call with the prosecutor that said, basically, this isn't lining up with the public narrative. This is the kind of case that ends careers. And these are all conversations that, again, are part of the public record.
Well, and then, the other piece of this is the Hennepin County State's Attorney's Office, too. So we had this, I remember that communication that was reported, actually, about the pressure that was being applied. These are the kinds of cases that ruined careers. That phrase stuck with me. But also, a prosecutor's office, Hennepin County Prosecutor's Office, that was beset with some internal dynamics that leads one to question whether or not they were interested in the truth, or similar to the medical examiner, interested in protecting their careers.
Yeah, actually, there's been a lot happening this week. I encourage people to go to thefallofminneapolis.com. Not only can you watch the documentary there for free, but if you click on the news section, you can see all these latest developments. But there was another recent filing in this case. Basically, it was a case of retaliation after prosecutors refused to charge the 3 other officers at all, and they were not comfortable with the higher charge against Derek Chauvin. This is when Governor Tim Walz, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz,
heard of him,
everybody knows now.
That guy.
He tapped our Attorney General, Keith Ellison, to take the case away from Hennepin County because they were not comfortable charging these cops. and that's when that took place. So there's some more information about that actually just came out this week as well.
Now, I mean, this doesn't mean even if you prove that can convince a court that Chauvin kneeling on Floyd's neck was not the proximate cause of his death, that doesn't necessarily mean that he didn't violate George Floyd's civil rights, because just to reset the table here, he's got 2 convictions. One is for murder in Hennepin County, which he's got a 22-year sentence for, and he's got a violation of George Floyd's civil rights, which he's got a 20-year sentence for. So even if he didn't his actions didn't cause the death of George Floyd, he's not out of the woods. He's not necessarily walking out of prison.
Right. So you have a federal sentence running concurrently with this state sentence. So state, he has a new attorney assigned to his state case, and also Judge Peter Cahill has retired. So a new judge is taking a look at this on the state side. As well. So there is a state appeal, post-conviction relief that's taking place at the moment. Also, some of that information does center around the tumor that George Floyd had, but there's quite a bit of other information in there as well. Derek Chauvin's first appeal was denied. That was on the change of venue argument that was made. And so this is basically kind of his last chance there with the state appeal. And I did want to mention, I know you did talk about John and Glenn, who I'm very disappointed in, I'll be quite honest, never having us back on after discussing at great length with our Attorney General, basically letting him lie on their broadcast. So I'd love nothing more than to be allowed to come back on. But yeah, I was disappointed with how they went ahead and retracted what they thought about the fall of Minneapolis.
Yeah, I was too. I mean, because it's your initial reaction to the film and coming to the table with a lot of knowledge about the case, like everybody had because of the ubiquitous reporting on it, and maybe some of it was misinformation, but there was a lot of awareness of it. And these are smart guys, and they process the information one way, and then look, it's fine to then say, okay, well, maybe I didn't consider this question or that question, but their sort of full retreat was a little bit strange, particularly the piece too, which is a cultural piece. It's almost regardless of Chauvin's guilt, the idea that George Floyd in any context should be elevated to heroic status is just to me, it's a sort of an indication of general cultural rot. And I don't know how you walk that back.
Yeah, we continue to cover over at Alpha News. That's where I work now, alphanews.org, but just what has happened since. We've actually put out another documentary since the fall of Minneapolis. It's called Minnesota versus We the People. But what has happened since? We've had 5 first responders, 4 officers and a fire medic murdered on the job, killed on the job in a matter of 13 months in Minnesota, something that's never happened before. So this ongoing spiral that these lies have led to are also important in reporting. This wasn't over 4 years ago. We're all still living the consequences for all of this, and I just wish more people would actually recognize that.
Your husband's a former police officer, correct?
Yeah, that's right. He retired after all of this in Minneapolis, but a 32-year Minneapolis police officer. Yeah.
But did they ever rebuild the 3rd district there?
They're still still working on that. If you guys can believe it, it's going to be called a democracy center when they open.
Oh my
brother!
The police precinct again, and it's also interesting. The businesses there at 30th and Chicago are in fact suing the city of Minneapolis for a lack of police protection, basically at this point, because there are no cops left. And also for allowing them to lose their business. They're blaming the city for making these asinine decisions in the wake of George Floyd's death.
Well, this is after I remember the black residents of a particular neighborhood in Minneapolis sued the city and won for the same thing. We want police presence here, and we're not getting equal protection under the law from police. We want it. They sued for it, so that was part of the the story that was muted as well as black residents that were victimized by looters and rioters, just like anybody else was, anybody else law-abiding was, and they sued and won. And I wonder if the decision, their victory essentially, has been enforced or not for them.
Well, the problem is they've tried to enforce it, and this is basically a mandate that they had to hire so many cops.
Right.
There was about 900 police officers at the beginning of May of 2020. There's still only like 490, I believe, is the last count after we've recorded yet another record year of homicides in Minneapolis, I will say, with still a little time to go left this year. But it's really just sad, and that's kind of the message, too, that it just did not have to happen. It doesn't have to continue either. But I don't know how it gets better if people don't tell the truth.
Liz, go. Jim.
Well, I mean, in addition to having a husband who's a former police, you're a former reporter, and I know we talked to you when we talked to you about the documentary.
I'm still a reporter. I just
well,
now for a
I
living,
mean,
just, you know.
I meant like a former, reporter. Like a network affiliate type of, old legacy media reporter. And I know we talked to you about this when we first had you on to discuss the documentary, but now with a couple of years removed, or a year removed or so, any recriminations from your former colleagues about the coverage here? Any texturing of the coverage, particularly with this development in court this week?
Oh, it's always interesting. I've always received a lot of support, and I have a lot of people within the market that are watching what we're doing pretty closely, and they cheer us on behind the scenes because they know so much of what they're doing for a living is not, being on the side of the good guys. That's for sure. So they'll do that privately. They won't be publicly posting about the fall of Minneapolis, but all of them have watched it, I guess, if that's the question.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that, and again, whether this is the George Floyd incident, whether it's COVID, election, I mean, you name the topic that the corporate media at this point has gotten so wrong. We've kind of even heard here locally, I don't know how much longer some of these stations even stay in business. I mean, when this is your business model to lie to the public, I'm not sure how much longer this goes on.
Yeah, and how long advertisers are going to support that. So I have a real basic question for you, Liz, because my son goes to the University of Iowa, and every time we drive in and we drive out, we see this 3-story mural of George Floyd. Who is George Floyd?
Interesting. I wasn't aware there's one there as well.
I'll text you a picture and give it. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at Amy Jacobson, and I'll send it to you. It's unbelievable.
I will look that up. Wow. That is unbelievable. Well, and this was never even, what we were trying to do is, defame George Floyd in any way. But the guy is a lifelong criminal. He spent most of his adult life in prison. Those are the facts. And also he had kind of this rehearsed act with the police. If you look at his 2019 arrest, again, we're told they've never heard of George Floyd. They've never had anything to do with him. He's the subject of an undercover drug investigation that took place in 2019, selling hundreds of counterfeit pills. He has almost a carbon copy arrest then that takes place in 2020. The same thing he's saying, the same act. He's stuffing drugs in his mouth. Nearly died, actually, in 2019 once they got him to a hospital. And his life was saved back in 2019. But yeah, those are the facts. He'd only actually been in Minneapolis. And he didn't even live in Minneapolis. He lived in a suburb. But for about 6 years, and there are at least 2 jobs that he'd been fired from in that time. And he's also the suspect in a couple of rapes that nobody talks about either, that the state seems to have lost the testing for in the cities as well. So there's a lot there. In fact, his own family never even went back to his apartment in St. Louis Park to gather his personal belongings.
Well, how many kids did he have?
He died.
I know his youngest daughter, Barbara Streisand, gave all of her Disney stock to his youngest daughter. And he had 3 funerals during a time when nobody could have funerals, not even one, let alone he had 3.
That's what was interesting also. We know of the one daughter, but there were many people that then came out and said that they were children of his as well. So I don't think we have a very clear picture. But also, again, there's even more there with his family. It didn't, from who we've talked to, all I can say is that it just did not seem like he was very close with his family, and in fact, that they never even went and set foot into his in his apartment to even collect his things after his death.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
Well, maybe. I mean, and now we have George Floyd Square and George Floyd murals, and it's just really, they're monuments to ignorance. Liz Cullen is a multi-Emmy award-winning reporter and anchor. She's also the producer of The Fall of Minneapolis, and she's at Alpha News now, as she mentioned. Liz, thanks for joining us again. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you guys, and a Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, and thank you for all that you do. And you can follow her at Liz Collin, LizCollin on X. And she joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity. All right, this Christmas season, don't forget your Balance of Nature supplements, a proud supporter of this radio station for 10 years. Remember, gingerbread cookies, ice cream, don't cut it. They don't provide the fruits and vegetables your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. I know so many people, from Justin, who's a mere 29 years old. Tomorrow is his birthday, by the way. He'll be 30, but he takes Balance of Nature. He loves it. I have a friend at the gym who's nearing 90 years old. She's been on Balance of Nature since the beginning. She looks great. Her skin looks great. She's energy. She's still going to the gym 5 days a week. So there's something to it, folks. I love Balance of Nature. That's why I've been taking it for 10 years, because I do not get enough fruits and veggies on my own, and that's where the Balance of Nature supplements come in. 6 capsules a day provides your body, heart, and mind with several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables. You will love it, and your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. Order your fruits and veggies today. Call 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%, or go online to balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago. And Merry Christmas from Balance of Nature and AM 560, The Answer.
I think one of the things that patients don't realize is that when they get a joint replacement, that's not a lifetime treatment option. And they're probably, if they are a younger patient, signing up for multiple surgeries down the road.
As a physician and medical director for QC Kinetics, Dr. Caravelli's seen a pattern of trending joint pain. Prolonged medication, steroids, then surgery, possibly another surgery.
So a lot of our patients are trying to avoid or put off surgery, and this is the treatment that can help them do that.
QC Kinetics extracts your body's healing substances, concentrates them back into your aching joints to help heal and restore those areas, providing lasting relief.
Oh, I love being able to tell my patients, before we do this surgery, let's try another option. Let's see if this is right for you, because now they might not have to have surgery at all.
Call today for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 5:38, we'll do a status check on our Food for the Poor campaign with Paul Jacob. That's 7:37.
And we'll tell you how you can become a business benefactor. All the cool kids are doing it, and we have a new list of business benefactors, and we want to support them and thank them. But first, we head into the newsroom. The one and only Mike Scott. Now, Mike, I'm curious, how many gift cards do you have stacked up in a drawer somewhere?
None.
Really?
No. Not a gift card kind of guy.
Well, one of my rich neighbors moved out of state. She was CEO of a company here, and she gave me a $300 gift card that she received from a spa. Do you think I could go to that spa and still use it and try? Or will I get kicked out on my keister?
I'm thinking you should make a phone call first.
Okay.
That's all you need to do. That little thing that sits in front of you every day, it has numbers on it, and you can dial people on it. It's called a telephone. Massage. One of the originators, Western Electric, started here in the city of Chicago. You
Don't
can
bring
use
up Ma
that.
Bell again, please.
You can use it. 7:33 on AM 560, The Answer. A few thousand Amazon workers are walking off the job this morning. Teamsters Union argues those workers who walked off the job at Amazon facilities in New York, California, here in Skokie, and in Atlanta need better pay and longer breaks and safer conditions. Amazon says they don't expect an impact to operations. The White House is blaming President-elect Trump for sinking a bipartisan funding bill that would have prevented a government shutdown. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries.
House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt everyday Americans all across this country.
Congressman Chip Roy says it doesn't look good right now for Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson.
It is not something that is going to earn favor with the conference that we are looking at such an enormous bill heading into Christmas.
In other news we're following, the Supreme Court will hear arguments on the upcoming TikTok ban. The law requires the parent company ByteDance to either sell the app or it will be banned in the U.S. by January 19. Federal Reserve lowering rates again, announcing yesterday it's cutting interest rates by 0.25 percentage point. Fed officials began lowering rates this fall. In Chicago sports this morning, we'll see if the Bulls can extend their winning streak. They continue on the road and take on the Celtics at the TD Garden tonight, while the Blackhawks go for their third win in a row when they host the Kraken at the United Center. Offensive linemen Ryan Bates, Tevin Jenkins, and Braxton Jones all missed Bears practice with injury yesterday. The Bears host the Lions on Sunday. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com and use coupon code Chicago to save 35% as a preferred customer. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Would you like to have your mortgage or rent paid for all of 2025? That sounds like a Christmas miracle, doesn't it? Well, that's exactly what AM 560 The Answer wants to do for you. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle to enter our Christmas Mortgage Miracle Contest presented by Team Hochberg. Enter once per day, every day between now and December 20th, and you could have your rent or mortgage paid for all of next year. Go to 560theanswer.com/miracle.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484, 800-839-8484, 800-839-8484.
The weather is starting to turn to fall, and before you know it, the snow will be flying. Are your tires prepared for the rain and snow? Remke's Garage sells the most popular tire for this Chicago weather, the Toyo Celsius. Why Toyo, you ask? The Toyo Celsius tire has been uniquely engineered to help you specifically navigate Chicago's extreme weather and road conditions. Not only is the tire the most round, minimizing irregular wear, the asymmetric tread design is able to handle the crazy Chicago weather when it starts raining one minute, icy the next, and snowing within a few more minutes. Have peace of mind when going down the road that your tires are prepared for the conditions. So, Why wait? Stop by Remke's Garage today and let their team inspect your tires and get you on the road with confidence. Visit us at remkesgarage.com. That's remkesgarage.com. REMKES, remkesgarage.com. Remke's Garage, repairing America.
Are your file cabinets stuffed with work orders, invoices, bills of lading, medical records, and or compliance papers? There's a solution to clear the clutter by converting your documents into accessible digital form with the help of IDT. They can scan your documents for you or provide you with the technology to transform your workspace with easy and innovative IoT smart connected scanning technology. IoT smart connected scanning not only captures your information, it connects your documents directly to your existing digital systems, ensuring seamless integration and immediate access. Plus, it works with your existing Microsoft Office 365 technology. Convert those physical files into secure, searchable, easy-to-find digital formats. Goodbye, paper chaos. Hello, streamlined, secure digital environment. Visit ready4idt.com. That's ready, the number 4idt.com. IDT, putting paper in its place.
Struggling with high cloud hosting costs and endless management headaches with your Microsoft Azure or AWS environment? Contact AmericanEagle.com for an assessment and see how they can save you time and money.
7:39, check of the roads, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. In this update, a service of Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combining heritage and innovation in every cup. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee because great coffee is their family tradition. Online at papanicholas.com. Little stop and go on the Kennedy this morning, central to Montrose, and 71 minutes into the East Circle interchange. Inbound Ike, 53 to the old post office. Stevenson inbound, your stop and go Harlem to Kedzie, 46 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And a disabled vehicle on Lakeshore Drive, left lane blocked southbound between Montrose and Fullerton. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun, 35 today. Breezy, snow kicks in, a low of 31 overnight, 26 right now. Next news at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560 The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Food for the Poor's operating model in the Caribbean and Latin America is driven through a church model. We are a Christian ministry. We partner with all denominations and through the specific churches. It's true to our DNA. It's true to our understanding of what it means to live the gospel and to work passionately through Christian ministry. And it is also the best way we can. The extraordinary donations that we receive all the time on behalf of our neighbors, wherever they may be.
All those who've already signed up for our Business Benefactor program so far, this is key, the donor leadership from the business community in meeting our goals in support of the work that Food for the Poor does, as you just heard described, including some of our business benefactors. We can't go through them all, but some of them. And we'll get to y'all. Brian Willey Construction, our friend John Cass, johncassnews.com, Contractors Association of Will and Grundy Counties, Mathnasium, Chicagoland Centers, Mary Lou Lasky, Diesel Enterprise Group, Secure Controls, Air Easy Incorporated, K&S Metals, Gatto Industrial Platers, and many more.
Yeah, DC Export and Domestic Packing, Inc. And to become a business benefactor, well, really what it is you make a one-time donation of $2,500. It's tax deductible. The money will go to Food for the Poor. You will help feed 50 children for 1 year. Can you imagine that? 50. And also provide clean water for that community. And as a way of saying thank you, we give you 40 one-minute commercials that will air right here Monday through Friday. Folks, it is the best deal in all of Chicagoland radio. If you ever thought about advertising, this is the time to do it. And this will sell out. It does every year. The person to call is Anjanette. Her number is 847-472-8951. Write it down. I'll give you another chance to get pen and paper or type it in on your phone notes. 847-472-8951 or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
For more on what Food for the Poor is doing and can do, thanks to your generosity, we're pleased to be joined by Paul Jacobs, who's the radio manager and on-air fundraiser for Food for the Poor. Paul, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
Dan, Amy, it's great to be back with you, and Merry Christmas. I can't say enough when you read the names of those business benefactors. In fact, it would be amazing to think that each and every one of your listeners turn around and do all of those last-minute shopping with those business benefactors. And I mean that not in a flippant way, because it's true. These individuals feeding 50 children, providing those 50 children access to water in their communities, all because they turn their business and put their resources to save lives.
Yeah, and, can you give us, if you would, you've done this before, but I think it's always important to sort of provide as much specificity as possible, make these things concrete, like the business, for the business benefactor who's going to feed 50 children with their $2,500 tax deductible donation. Tell us how that $2,500 donation goes to Food for the Poor and what that translates into. How do you make that work?
Well, it's very simple. It's in the face of children like Rodman, 12-year-old little boy in a feeding center in Guatemala run by Father Abel. He's one of our ministry partners in Guatemala in this feeding center. And these children come from these communities surrounding this feeding center on a daily basis. Why? Because their parents, earning possibly $1 or $2 a day maximum, cannot keep the roof over their head, cannot keep their children in school, and certainly cannot, in addition to all of that, give them food that'll help them grow and eat. And 12-year-old Rodman gets a chance to come and eat. But this is what was interesting. When we met him recently on our trip to Guatemala, we were surprised that he wasn't eating this particular day. He was actually running around with some of the other children, helping serve the smaller ones. And we asked him, what's going on? Why aren't you sitting down with your friends? He says, I'll eat after the others are done. And these are children that your business benefactors, or you listening right now, maybe you do not, you're not looking at giving a gift of $2,500 to feed 50 children. Can you help us with a gift of $200? That will provide 4 children, because this hour there is a match to Food for the Poor, and your gift of $200 effectively provides 4 children like Rodman in front of a plate of food every day. In fact, 2 meals a day for an entire year, and gives them access to water.
And again, Food for the Poor, I mean, just the scope of the operation, something like $15 billion worth of aid to some of the poorest countries and, by association, people in the world in 44 countries. I mean, the 40-plus year organization doing God's work, quite literally. I mean, that this is the scope of what has been built over the several generations now.
Yes, Food for the Poor is operating in 15 countries across Latin America and the Caribbean. We've been doing this since 1982, going into our 43rd year. And what is so amazing is that it is the impact is made and felt by the local church, our ministry partners on the ground, trusted, vetted partners that come alongside Food for the Poor, come alongside you with your gift of $200 or your business benefactor gift of $2,500, whatever gift in between that you can give right now, and make sure that these children are eating on a regular basis, making sure that what we say to you that we will do, it gets done on a regular basis. I'm so impressed by the business, our ministry partners on the ground, because it's times like this, in moments like these, that they find a way to dig in and find communities where, quite frankly, they have been forgotten for so long. And they contact our projects department, they contact us, and they say, our operations team, and say, we need help. And this is why, with 6 days left of before Christmas, 6 days left before we celebrate the birth of Christ, our ministry partners need your help. They need the help of listeners like Ronald from Porter, Indiana. We just got a gift of $500 from Ronald, and I just love what Ronald shared. He wrote a note and said, I've always wanted to donate, and I have had the best financial year of my life, and now is the time. Well, with 6 days left before Christmas, with your last-minute shopping, you could send a box to a family's doorstep in Guatemala or Honduras, and it's not little plastic stuff, as Dave Ramsey calls it. It's actually life-saving food with your generosity.
And a lot of women, I mean, moms even that I met, they're proudful. It's human dignity. They need help for their kids, and sometimes it's hard for them to ask. But when they become so desperate, they'll wait in line at your feeding centers for hours. And just when you fill up that bucket with rice and with beans, they are so happy because they know that they have a day where they can walk back to their village and feed their children.
Amy, you remember all too well and too vividly that those moms are the heroes in this story. Not all heroes wear capes, but they stand in line to make sure that their children are fed that day, and that's what we have across our countries, across our communities. And so, yeah, it's just so much more than just life-saving food. It's so much more than access to water in a community, so that a mom does not have to pray over every sip of water that they give their children. It's really dignity, and you're absolutely right. I met a mom in Guatemala, Mirna Yolanda, and I was struck by her face was so sullen. Her husband out to work trying to earn enough to feed their 3 children. Her little son tugging on her little shirt, on her shirt, and through the translator, we found out that this little boy, 9 years old, wanted to ask his mom to go to work with daddy so that he could earn some more money to help his 6-year-old sister eat. And she said, sometimes when I hear that, I can't do anything but go inside my home in the corner with my children not in sight, and I just weep and cry. And Mirna told us that this food, this meal, this ability to take care of her children meant so much more than just food in their belly. It gave her hope in her heart.
The work that Food for the Poor does also to help essentially drive sustainable situations in some of the communities in some of these countries, at least, working with the local partners you were mentioning, the church or other faith-based organizations. Can you just speak to that? Maybe a story about one community where now, because of the generosity of Food for the Poor donors, they have sustainable water supplies on an ongoing basis. They have a sustainable food situation on an ongoing basis.
Well, it's 2 communities, one in Haiti and one in Guatemala. It's Cadwa, Haiti. Cadwa, Haiti was basically just a blank spot on a map until Food for the Poor ministry partners were basically came to us in our Port-au-Prince office and said, there's a community, there's a pastor, he has been here in this community praying for 30 years that someone would help this community. We were able to communicate with that pastor, get into the community, get the families that desperately needed the resources to build a home, not only get them the homes that they needed, but get them access to water and get them a community center that they had an overgrowth of sugarcane, but they had no way of processing it. So basically others would come in and just take their crops and just take it away. And these individuals whose land those crops were on, they had no say in it. And so Food for the Poor donors and listeners, just like you listening right now, were able to build a processing plant for this sugarcane. And this community is thriving today. Another community in Guatemala, more recently when I was there, when we were in a community where these mothers and these women suffering abuse at the hands of, quite frankly, men that were alcoholics, men that had no future in sight, and they whatever money that was earned, they drank it up, and then they left and came back and did the same again. And then these moms said enough. These families came together in a cooperative setting, and they built these micro tunnels of farming, and now they're growing their own food. Now these women are helping other women in other communities to do the same, teaching their children so that the generation of poverty ends with them. And then they literally teach their children after school, because the kids go to school and the kids get an education. They come and they learn all these skills. This is truly the transformation. But it all starts with you helping us right now to make sure that they're fed and that they get access to water in their community, and then they can do more.
To make a gift of any amount, just call 844-862-4673, 844-862-4673, or visit 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
And to join the business benefactors like the National Shrine of St. Francis Xavier Cabrini, freedomchamber.net, Immune Enhancement, the makers of Virogo, Chris Jacobs of Century 21 Circle, our friend Garrett Vespo and Arlington Heights Heating and Cooling, and so many others joined that business benefactor program. Amy, they do what?
They can make a donation of $2,500, and that will feed 50 children for a year in Latin America and the Caribbean, and will also provide water, much needed water, to that community. And to become a business benefactor, where we will give you 41-minute commercials, you have to call Anjanette at 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951. 6 days until Christmas. We really want to reach our goal, and we do every year because of your generosity, because of your help. And we would not be teaming up with Food for the Poor if we did not believe in them, if we did not see some of the staff here firsthand, the good work that they do on a daily basis. They don't take Christmas off. They don't take New Year's Day off, because the need for food is an everyday occurrence in some of these communities.
5-star Charity Navigator rated. Check it out for yourselves if you're so inclined. Paul Jacobs, radio manager and on-air fundraiser for Food for the Poor. Paul, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
God bless you both. Thank you, and Merry Christmas to everyone.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
Hallelujah! Holy
On AM 560.
Where's the Tylenol?
The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
Balance of Nature supplements. Changing the world, one life at a time.
A lot of times people don't understand what a supplement is. A supplement is in addition to your regular foods. It's really just an incredible formula, and I've been doing nutrients for 43 years. It has a tremendous effect on how I feel, my well-being. I love the way it gives me all my supplements for fruits and vegetables, which I take a lot of anyway. But I find that this gives me that supplement that I was missing before.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code Chicago.
When your home or business has an insurance claim, the next step is very important. The claim process with insurance can be tedious, hard to understand, and difficult to navigate. You need someone working for you. You need a licensed claim adjuster. Why? The insurance company will send out their inspectors that work for them, get paid by them, and represent them, not you.
This is Dan Lights from Crosscom. We inspect your property, file your claim, negotiate the damages, and maximize your settlement with your insurance company. If we complete the repairs approved by your insurance company, our service is free. Crosscom Public Adjusters has turned denied claims into approved claims. We've also increased insurance claims anywhere from 23 to 1,000%. We are licensed by the Department of Insurance and work in Illinois, Northwest Indiana, and Southern Wisconsin. Crosscom Public Adjusters, 630-871-5500. Online at crosscominc.com. That's crosscominc.com. Crosscom, building trust for over 20 years.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. It's a bank where relationships still matter. Signature Bank knows your name and your story. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Jim Durkin, founding partner of the Martech Group, a global market research firm based in Chicago since 1985 and a longtime customer of Signature Bank. When our business moved to our current Loop location, I recall seeing Mick O'Rourke and his two business partners, Brian Duncan and Kevin Bastuga, laying the foundation for Signature Bank. When Signature opened its doors in 2006, I was proud to move our accounts there and become a shareholder. Being in the consulting business, the Martech Group has a keen understanding of the value of relationships, trust, and attentiveness. Whether dealing with our U.S. practice or our international operations, Signature Bank is always there when we need them. That's why the Martech Group is proud to have Signature Bank as a valued business partner.
Signature Bank is looking for their next success story. To learn more about turning your business vision into reality, visit signaturebank.bank. Signature Bank, helping local businesses succeed. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
The only thing I'm going to miss about the Bears season is the end of Dave Swirsky parody songs each week. Here's his latest, just 3 games to go. You have that to look forward to, the end.
Now 8 straight games I've cried. This team took a nosedive. Just 3 more games until the season's over. Through all my life I've tried to keep the hope alive, but it ain't easy when the team rolls over. Year after year, we get our hopes up, but it's so rare that things work out. But this bad season, damn, it's got me wondering if they can ever turn this team around. Now 8 straight games I've cried. This team took a nosedive. Just 3 more games until the season's over. Through all my life I've tried to keep the hope alive, but it ain't easy when the team rolls over.
So good. He's so good. Did you pick up what song he's parodying?
What's his producer friend? Anybody?
Lenny Kravitz.
Lenny
It's not
Kravitz,
over till it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good. This guy's good. He's really good.
Oh, my God. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
808, we'll talk higher ed and rich kids with Joshua Katz.
Today we're going to have clouds, some sun, a high of 35 degrees. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
They're working on Plan B, and they do not have much time. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News.
First, I would tell everybody to take their meds.
GOP Senator John Kennedy, the morning after House Republicans scrapped a bipartisan spending plan.
President Trump needs to sit down with Mike Johnson and John Thune and come up with a new skinny CR.
That continuing resolution has to be approved by tomorrow night. Fox's Peter Ducey reports.
The odds of a government shutdown are now as high as 60-40 or 70-30, according to our Capitol Hill whisperer, Chad Pergram, after the original spending bill completely fell apart. The final nail in the coffin was on Truth Social, where Donald Trump posted, "Sounds like the ridiculous and extraordinarily expensive continuing resolution, plus is dying fast."
House Democrats say if the government shuts down, it'll be Republicans' fault. Thousands of workers went on strike at 7 Amazon warehouses this morning, from California to New York.
We're out here striking for a better job. You feel me? We need better job, better pay, better benefits. We need a safer condition.
But Amazon has refused to negotiate with their Teamsters union, insisting most of those who walked out are not actually Amazon employees, but third-party delivery drivers. And Amazon says the strike will not affect operations. Luigi Mangione, the accused killer of United Healthcare's CEO, is in court right now in Pennsylvania for 2 hearings. The first on gun and other charges. Fox's Brian Yennis is there.
The second hearing is at the Blair County Courthouse here. That is going to be about his extradition, where we are told to expect him to waive that extradition, which means we expect him to immediately be moved from Altoona to Manhattan, New York.
And that's where Mangione's already been indicted for murder. After all the drone sightings in recent weeks, mostly in New Jersey, the FAA is temporarily banning flying most drones over parts of that state. The economy grew a little more than first thought in the third quarter. The GDP increase has just been revised higher, up to 3.1%. America's listening to Fox News.
26 degrees at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. And topping our news this morning, clouds are thickening and lowering through the morning. Snow develops in the afternoon. But will we have a white Christmas? We'll have that in our forecast in just a moment. Chicago Board of Education has called a meeting tomorrow and could vote on a possible termination or buyout agreement on the contract of CEO Pedro Martinez. The special meeting is the latest update in what continues to be an ongoing drama and power struggle between Martinez and weakened Mayor Brandon Johnson and his Chicago Teachers Union allies. Cook County prosecutors are dropping charges against an Oak Lawn police officer accused of punching a teen boy fleeing from a traffic stop in 2022. Officer Patrick O'Donnell was charged with aggravated battery and official misconduct. The charges stem from the July 22 arrest. Activists, as expected, were outraged at the legal action.
As the state's attorney, is not to try to solve the numerous unsolved murders, but rather to vacate the charges against an officer who beat a minor almost to death in the street.
Video did show O'Donnell and two other officers restraining the teen on the ground, and there were punches thrown. The teen's family has filed a civil lawsuit. A Lake County judge is allowing prosecutors to present hours of police interrogation video of the Highland Park July 4 parade shooting suspect. Judge Victoria Rossetti denied a motion to suppress Robert Cremo III's testimony, saying the defendant was fully aware of his rights and declined an attorney multiple times. Chicago sports. Bulls and Celtics on the schedule tonight, while the Blackhawks go for 3 in a row as they face off against Seattle. The news, a service of Turnkey.pro. Turnkey will fully protect your network with up-to-date cyber protection, unlimited backup, unlimited 24/7 help desk support for less than the price of a monthly car payment. Protect your small business today. Visit Turnkey.pro today. 8:04, time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. And now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Elizabeth McDonald, and this is the Fox Business Report.
There are some upbeat earnings this morning, helping to create some optimism after the dramatic sell-off yesterday that followed Fed Chair Jerome Powell suggesting there will be only 2 interest rate cuts next year, not 4. The Bank of England left interest rates there unchanged this morning as expected. CarMax is reporting a much better than expected quarter. The used car retailer's earnings and sales top forecasts, and the company says it's seeing positive momentum. CarMax shares are up more than 5%. And Olive Garden's parent company, Darden, is reporting sales improved for Olive Garden, Longhorn Steakhouse, Yard House, and Cheddar's Scratch Kitchen. Fine dining, Darden's Capitol Grill and Ruth's Chris saw sales decline. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Cosola, invested in you.
8:05, a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
On Monday, January 20th, Donald Trump will be sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. AM 560, The Answer, is throwing a party. Join us for our inauguration celebration on January 20th at Saddle Up Q in Aurora. Enjoy a brunch buffet with AM 560 listeners as we watch the inauguration of President Trump. Tickets are on sale now at 560theanswer.com/Trump47. That's 560theanswer.com/Trump47.
This holiday season, give a gift twice. That's right. With That's Caring as your gift-giving assistant, you'll give someone special a grand holiday gift box, and funds will be given to partnered food banks throughout the country for children who participate in a weekend bag program. Go to that'scaring.com. Choose from delicious gifts like cranberry raisin delight, holly doodle cookie, cinnamon spiced pecans, chocolate mint cookies, and much more. There's a festive gift box to delight anyone on your list. And by ordering a festive gift box, you'll be spreading holiday cheer to those who need it most. For over 10 years, That's Caring has provided over 260,000 meals. Now that's caring. Won't you join them in giving back this holiday season? Go to thatscaring.com, give tremendous happiness, and fight tremendous hunger. Visit thatscaring.com today. Thatscaring.com.
I love giving jewelry as a gift. Roland's Jewelers is the perfect place for that magical holiday gift. Hi, it's Mike Gallagher. Roland's Jewelers is the absolute perfect place for the magical holiday gift for someone you love. Buying jewelry is about trust. Roland's is the jeweler I trust. I'm a customer, and I'm always amazed by their 5-star Google reviews, so many of them, but why not? They're the best. They're family-owned. Hey, getting engaged? Roland's has a large selection of mined and lab-grown diamonds at great prices. Choose from beautifully crafted engagement rings from designer Simon G. or Italian designer Roberto Coin, offering stunning diamond pendants and earrings. How about a Tag Heuer watch with cutting-edge technology? I love mine from Roland's. I continue to be impressed at how expertly trained their staff is. Visit Roland's Jewelers in downtown Libertyville or RolandsJewelers.com. That's Roland's, Rollands, Roland's Jewelers, a family-owned jeweler you can trust, just like I do.
Trump's victory doesn't mean our financial worries are over. Far from it. Hi, I'm Dr. Ron Paul here. For the past few decades, I believe our nation's economic foundation has crumbled, all due to Washington's addiction to spending and currency manipulation. These problems won't vanish overnight, and that's why I've supported gold IRAs for years. These accounts let you hold tax-advantaged gold with no penalties or taxes when you transfer your IRA or 401k. Birch Gold Group is the leader in gold IRAs. They understand true wealth preservation means breaking free from the system. To learn more, get a free info kit on gold IRAs by texting the word PROTECT to 989898. That's PROTECT to the number 989898. Secure your savings with gold today. Text PROTECT to 989898 now for your free info kit on gold IRAs from Birch Gold.
Message and data rates may apply.
8:09 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time, delivered by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your routes. Ground delivery when you need it. Go to quickdelivery.com now to schedule your delivery. Kennedy right now at 83 minutes from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Aiken, 1 hour, 390 to the old post office. Stevenson jam solid right now, outbound right at Route 83. It's all due to the exit ramp there being closed due to a vehicle fire. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Today, sun and clouds, a high today 35, a little bit of snow at times tonight, maybe an inch in accumulation, low 31. Clouds and breezy, snow tomorrow morning, 1 to 3 inches, flurries by afternoon, high tomorrow at 35. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560, The Answer.
26 in clouds at O'Hare, your next news update, 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. The gist of this story about how elite universities treat the scions of the rich is probably not going to come as a surprise to very many people, but it's worth documenting anyway, in part because it has the potential to be a significant reckoning for a lot of America's elite, quote-unquote, elite universities. Elite university, that's a term that now, every time you hear it, just imagine the scare quotes around it because it's appropriate. And I speak as a graduate of one of the elite universities that is in the crosshairs here. Wall Street Journal reporting lawsuit alleging universities colluded to determine students' financial aid packages. Provides a glimpse into ways top schools assess children of privilege differently from the rest of the applicant pool. This is a antitrust price-fixing civil litigation matter that is before the courts. Actually, the court seeking class action status, or the plaintiff seeking class action status in a federal court in Illinois this Tuesday, that began in January of 2022. Georgetown University, a former president selected students for special admissions lists by consulting their parents' donation history, not their transcript, according to the suit. At MIT, a board member got the school to admit 2 applicants who were children of a wealthy former business colleague, again, according to the suit. At Notre Dame, an enrollment official in charge of a special applicant list wrote to others, quote, "Sure hope the wealthy next year raise a few more smart kids," unquote. Yeah, we don't want to have to lower the bar too much to get the kids of the well-heeled in. The plaintiffs, who are former students, initially accused more than a dozen elite universities with price fixing. 12 schools have since settled. The motion filed this last Tuesday in federal court seeks class action status for the case against the remaining 5 schools, MIT, Notre Dame, Penn, Georgetown, and Cornell. The settlement, interesting. 10 schools that have settled include Dartmouth, Northwestern, and Rice. They've settled for a total of $284 million. 2 more have settled for amounts that have not been disclosed. The class action certification filing asks for $685 million in damages. If awarded, that figure would triple to more than $2 billion under U.S. antitrust laws. Well, you start getting into billions, you start talking about real money, even for some of these elite universities. For more on this and a discussion of the state of higher ed, pleased to be joined again by Joshua Katz. Joshua Katz is Senior Fellow at the American Enterprise Institute. Joshua, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Always great to be here. Hi, Dan. Hi, Amy.
Great to have you again. So, like I said, not a surprise, and I'm not necessarily a unqualified champion of antitrust law in the United States, but I have to smile when I see elite universities being bent over by former students.
Well, yes, so do I, and I graduated from 3 of them, 3 of the quote-unquote elite universities. That's not true. I graduated from 2, and I worked for many years at 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I know this world pretty well, and it's not a happy one.
Well, right, and I mean the whole sort of rich privilege deal going on there. This is the just more of sort of the larger cultural phenomenon that is more and more recognized and more people find displeasing, which is it's a big club and you're not in it and you're not invited to be in it.
That's correct. It would be helpful if we went back to the best that we could judge it to merit. And that would be a very good way of quickly weeding out both dumb rich kids and kids who simply shouldn't be at these universities.
And the prospect of that changing in a material way, I mean, the combination of the Supreme Court's decision in the Harvard admissions case plus maybe civil suits like this, I mean, do you hold out much hope, or regardless of those reckonings, it's just still well beyond our reach to see some sort of turn towards MEI as opposed to DEI, merit, excellence,
yes,
intelligence.
Very well put, MEI, yes. Well, I try to be hopeful. I try to be optimistic. There are days in which that's easier for me to do than others. The Harvard suit and things like it have brought some interesting things to light. There are some institutions which Again, you have 1 year of data, which is not a whole lot, but there are some institutions that appear in this first year to have made very different admissions decisions. But then there are other institutions that appear not to have done so. Now, again, on the basis of 1 year of data, and mostly it's data that people don't have access to the details of, it's a little bit hard to know what to do with that. But I'll be cautiously optimistic that the coming years can be a little bit better.
I've been a believer.
I'm going to come back in a few months, and you're gonna remind me that I said this, and you're going to laugh. And I suppose that's possible. But let's give it a shot.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I have been a disciple of the sort of Mitch Daniels philosophy on higher education, which is it's not where you go, it's how you go. But I wonder if that's really true anymore. What do you think?
Well, I don't know. I mean, he was a great university president. I wish we had a lot more Mitch Daniels. I wish we had a lot more Mitch Danielses in Washington and in university offices. I'm gonna reserve judgment on that. I mean, as I say, my feelings on this really do change day to day. I'm fed up the way you are, the way I imagine most of the listeners are. I'm fed up with what's been happening. But there is, as they say, a vibe shift, and sometimes vibe shifts can actually affect real things. I mean, as you said just before I got on, when you start talking about billions of dollars, maybe the calculus is a little bit different. So I'm gonna reserve judgment on this, and again, just say I'm cautiously optimistic.
We had a conversation with the great Richard Epstein yesterday on the program,
yes,
and
he's a friend of mine, yes.
Yeah, and I know he's on his way to the Civitas Institute at the University of Texas at Austin. He mentioned to us from University of Chicago, and we talked a little bit about sort of the culture on campus these days, and we had a bit of a disagreement, which is I dared to slightly disagree with Richard Epstein, which is always dangerous.
It's always dangerous.
Yeah, and so it was the idea of sort of what is going on with Gen Z and sort of the nihilism that afflicts our culture generally, but specifically to them. The anti-Semitism on campus was one illustration of that. His point is that it's the loudest and the most ignorant who are the most loudest that are drowning out the reality of a lot of other people on campus that are very sensible and going about their business and preparing to have successful, responsible lives. And I'm sure that's true, but it's a little bit more complicated than that, it seems to me. And I have to go back to the survey that came out this week in the wake of a former Penn student murdering that United Healthcare CEO, allegedly.
Indeed.
And the Emerson survey that found 41% of 18 to 29-year-olds find the murder of a CEO who they don't like because of public policy reasons justifiable, as opposed to 40% who didn't. I mean, I think that's more than just being, a small minority drowning out the majority of good people.
Yeah, I admit I found that shocking, and I would not have predicted that those would be the numbers. And of course, I saw them too. That really does seem to be true. In general, I have to say, I think Richard, well, I would have said that Richard was largely right. And in a way, this annoys me. And what I mean by that is that there are all of the people who are busily going about their work and trying not to be bothered, but they should be bothered, and so they're being cowardly. And I really resent the ones who are being cowardly. I resent them much more than, as you just put it, the small vocal minority of true believers. The true believers are true believers. There's nothing you could do about that. But then there's everybody else, and they really should be standing up for things. But yeah, as you just said, there is now this poll about assassinating somebody, and that's really shocking. So maybe I have to rethink that. But at least until recently, I think I would have tried, again in my hopeful or optimistic way, to be a little bit on Richard's side. But maybe that's naive.
Mm-hmm. Just on an optimistic note, too, I mean, trying to maintain some level of optimism. It's not just the University of Austin. It's not just, existing institutions of enlightenment like Hillsdale and others. It's also some of the legacy schools that are opening up to the idea of recommitting to Western civilization, like the Civics Institute that opened at North Carolina, University of North Carolina. And I wonder, if seeing some more of that is really could be indicative of at least some rebalancing going on.
I think these new institutions are wonderful. I think the Civitas at University of Texas at Austin. I think the one that you just mentioned at UNC, the Hamilton Center in Florida, Skedal, which is sort of the mothership of all of this at the University of Arizona, a whole bunch in Ohio, OSU, Toledo, and so on. I mean, they're springing up, and they could have a very real effect. Now, of course, there are thousands of universities in the country, and we're talking about a few centers at a few major public universities, typically in red or at least purple states. And, well, you could say that that's something of a drop in the bucket. But given what the numbers are against what one might call centrists, never mind conservatives, in the academy generally, we'll take all the drops in the bucket we can get. So I'm very bullish on these institutes. We need more of them. And, of course, we need people to populate them. That's what's really hard, right? It's one thing to build these centers, and then it's another thing actually to get faculty to teach there and to teach the up-and-coming students who are likely to be rebelling against today's craziness. The problem is we've kind of lost a generation of scholars and potential scholars.
Yeah, it's a journey of 1,000 miles. But I mean, it is nice, like brand name universities that have cachet, like UT and like North Carolina, to have institutions like that. It provides a little bit of telescoping of the prospect of a renaissance here. I'm at least I'm hopeful that's true.
Yeah, I'm hopeful of that too. And you mentioned Hillsdale. That's another. I would say beacon of hope. And there are little beacons of hope in the so-called elite universities as well. There are what I might call cells in all of them. Some of these cells are bigger than others, but they do exist, and cells can grow. So again, let me be hopeful. I've never been this hopeful with you before.
Well, we're trying to turn a page. We're on the cusp of New Year's resolutions, and there's sort of and not to mention what happened in the election. So it's a more hopeful time. Joshua Katz, senior fellow at AEI, American Enterprise Institute. Thanks as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Take care.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
You stink. I think you're going to have a good Christmas, all right? I like beef and cheese. You don't smell like Santa.
On AM 560. The Answer.
I knew there had to be a better way to get relief from joint pain aside from surgery and harmful medications.
That's football legend and dancing champ Emmitt Smith, who knows a thing or two about joint pain.
Turns out I was right. It's called QC Kinetics, and now tens of thousands of patients and counting all across the country, they're feeling amazing. They say, hey, Emmitt, you were right.
QC Kinetics zeroed in on a technology that is revolutionizing pain treatment. They are transforming patients' lives. The largest provider of non-surgical regenerative treatments using natural healing properties to help restore and repair aching knees, hips, shoulders, and backs. Call them today for your free consultation.
QC Kinetics. I knew there had to be a better way. I love it when I'm right.
QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
I look forward to it every morning. I'm about to do it. Take my balance of nature. 6 capsules. You're getting several servings of 31 different whole fruits and vegetables, which I love because yesterday, nada, ningún vegetables or fruits. Nothing except for my balance of nature, which is why I love it. And they're a proud supporter of this station for 10 years, don't you know? Because all those gingerbread cookies, ice cream that you're going to have this Christmas season don't provide the fruits and vegetables that your body desperately needs every day to stay healthy, happy, and energized. Here's what you do. Order your fruits and veggie supplements today. You can buy them for yourself, or they make great stocking stuffers. Give the gift of health. 800-246-8751. 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%. and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35%. And Merry Christmas from Balance of Nature and from Chicago's Morning Answer. As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
I've been playing sports all my life. Little football, basketball, pickleball, cross training, mud events, Spartan races and things like that.
For Dr. Eric Williams, a successful chiropractor, staying active means everything. So when nagging knee pain slowed him down, he didn't want drugs or invasive surgery. He found a natural way to get lasting relief. QC Kinetics Cellular Therapies.
We're using my body's natural abilities to get better. And that's huge. In time, that's going to be the way of the future. Using your own body's ability to heal. Now I can play day to day and not have that severe pain.
Now he's back out there doing what he loves, thanks to QC Kinetics.
Life is good. You're not going to slow me down.
Leave the pain behind and get moving. Book your free consultation today with QC Kinetics.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
AM 560, The Answer.
Did you see this Supreme Court Justice KBJ, Ketanji Brown Jackson? She made her star turn on Broadway. Her dream to be on Broadway and appear in a Broadway show. And the show she appeared in is some sort of queer rendition of Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
Of course it is.
It's a different ending.
Female empowerment. Sick. I like it too. I think what I like about it is that I am having a very strongly negative reaction to it. Like I hate it. Which makes me think it must be brilliant. Got this feeling in my body. Can't stop the feeling.
Yeah, standing ovation for the curtain call for KBJ.
And she was one and done, right? One show, and that was it. Was it her lifelong dream?
I don't know.
She was at Harvard.
Be happy to see her leave the court and pursue her dream of being a Broadway star, although from the snippets I saw, unsurprisingly, does not have the chops.
She has some work to do, right?
She was a diversity hire for the court because Joe Biden said she was. I will appoint or nominate a black female. Yeah. So he made her a diversity hire, not me. And I guess the same goes for Broadway. But I mean, I mean, what are the standards for a queer version of Romeo and Juliet, really?
Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, are we ever going to have you translate alien?
8:38, we've got to translate something else. Charlie Baker, the head of the NCAA, back and forth with Josh Hawley about men in women's college sports. Sports and politics, 8:38.
But first, let's hop into that newsroom once again. Here's Mike Scott.
8:32, 27 degrees. At this hour, the suspect in the murder of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is in court. Luigi Mangione is expected to waive his extradition rights. Lawmakers are hurrying to create a new funding bill after an initial proposal was shot down by President-elect Donald Trump. This morning, House Majority Leader Steve Scalise tells reporters a deal should consider looking forward to the incoming administration.
The ultimate goal is to get a bill that addresses our immediate needs, but also sets President Trump up for success when he comes into office.
Government funding is set to expire on Friday night. A 20-year-old California man is accused of plotting a mass shooting in conjunction with the Wisconsin school shooter. A gun violence restraining order claims the man was in contact with the Wisconsin 15-year-old and was coordinating an attack at a separate government building in the Carlsbad, California area. An Oklahoma death row inmate will be executed today. Kevin Underwood will be put to death for the 2006 murder of a 10-year-old, Jamie Bolin. Underwood's execution comes after the Oklahoma Pardon Board voted against recommending clemency. Defense attorneys are getting their chance to call their own witnesses at the Dirksen Federal Building in Michael Madigan's racketeering trial, although defense attorneys say they are likely to call fewer witnesses than the prosecution. For more than 3 decades, the Cook County Sheriff's Office has been in charge of the electronic monitoring program. But over the years, the scope and rules of the ankle monitor program have changed. And now Sheriff Tom Dart says he's done.
Then all of a sudden we are getting murderers, rapists, armed robbers, carjackers on the program. We explained to them this program isn't for that, and they said they didn't care.
Currently, there are 1,500 or more people on it in Cook County. 100 of them are facing murder or attempted murder charges that predate the Safety Act. Chicago sports. Bulls and Celtics at the TD Garden tonight, while the Blackhawks go for their 3rd win in a row when they host Seattle. College basketball last night, Loyola beat Canisius, Bradley topped San Francisco, and Illinois State was a 21-point winner over Northern Illinois. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Save 35% off your first preferred order with promo code Chicago. Order online at balanceofnature.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Get ready for a musical journey like no other when the Trans-Siberian Orchestra returns to Chicago on December 23rd on their Lost Christmas Tour 2024. AM 560 is giving away tickets. Enter today at 560theanswer.com/Christmas. Don't miss the Trans-Siberian Orchestra at the All-State Arena. Go to 560theanswer.com/Christmas.
Have you seen what's been happening in the stock market lately? The market has had some rough days. And if you think those numbers don't mean anything to you and your retirement plan, think again. Can you afford to lose a big chunk of your retirement savings in a single day at this stage of your life? If you want to make sure you aren't taking on more risk than you're comfortable with, call the team at Scott Tucker Solutions now. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Make sure you're prepared for whatever happens in the market, and if you already have a retirement plan, let's take a look to make sure you're properly diversified. Call Scott Tucker Solutions today to help make sure more bad days in the market don't disrupt your retirement plans. 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. That's 847-474-3888 or go to 560retirement.com. Investment advisory services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
A lot of times people don't understand what a supplement is. A supplement is in addition to your regular foods. It's really just an incredible formula, and I've been doing nutrients for 43 years. It has a tremendous effect on how I feel, my well-being. I love the way it gives me all my supplements for fruits and vegetables, which I take a lot of anyway. But I find that this gives me that supplement that I was missing before.
Merry Christmas! This season, be part of the cheer and save big with our exclusive Christmas deal. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't miss out. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this exclusive Christmas offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
This hourly segment is brought to you by the Alpha Wealth Group, bringing the trilogy of estate, tax, and investment planning together. Visit alphawealthgroup.com for a free report.
8:37. Let's get an update on the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of Blindster.com, a family-run business that began in 2010. They sold millions of custom blinds, shades, and shutters, receiving over 100,000 five-star reviews. Do it yourself, save big. Blindster.com. Kennedy, 90 minutes, O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. Stevenson, your outbound exit ramp to Route 83 shut down due to a vehicle fire. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, a disabled vehicle blocking a left-hand lane southbound between Hollywood and Fullerton. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. AM 560 Weather Center forecast. Clouds and sun with a high of 35. Cloudy and 27 right now, 28 at Midway, 26 in Aurora. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
As we near the end of the year, many families in Latin America and the Caribbean are struggling just to get by. Inflation, food shortages, and natural disasters have left parents unable to feed their children or access water.
When the kids go to bed and we just stay in the night talking about how it's very hard to see my kids go to bed with hunger and not having something to give to them.
For over 40 years, Food for the Poor has stood alongside families like these. Gifts of $500 from AM 560 listeners have already provided food for 10 children for an entire year. Now we're asking for your help with the next 4. Your one-time gift of $200 provides life-saving food for 4 children for a year and helps the community get water closer to home. Make your best gift today. Click the red Give Life banner at 560theanswer.com or call 844-862-4673. And we thank you in advance for your generosity.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Charlie Baker, former governor of Massachusetts, Republican, but, you know, Massachusetts Republicans sort of like Mitt Romney. He was before the Senate committee to discuss the issue of trans athletes, particularly men playing women's sports. One of the things that should inform his view is the story of Peyton McNabb. She was a volleyball player in high school in North Carolina, and she was traumatically injured in a volleyball game. We talked about this when it occurred.
Oh, yeah.
By a male playing female volleyball at the high school level.
Yeah, he was an outside hitter. Outside hitter, and he hit the ball probably like between 45 to 52 miles per hour right at her head.
Hit her in the head, knocked her unconscious for 30 seconds. She was later diagnosed with a traumatic brain injury, a brain bleed, partial paralysis, and partial loss of vision. I think this is now a couple of years ago. I think she's since recovered. But she's the subject, in this instance, the subject of a new documentary by the Independent Women's Forum called Kill Shot, How Peyton McNabb Turned Tragedy into Triumph. Here's a clip.
I started getting messages and I started getting phone calls and texts were coming in that, hey, Peyton's been hit. You know, she's hurt pretty bad. So when I'm not gonna be able to do this. My first thoughts was, is she okay? And then honestly, my second, I was mad. I was furious because we all knew this was going to happen. Did I think it would happen to my child? No. But we all knew. Everybody talked about it. Everybody knew something was going to happen. Something was going to happen, and it did. And I was mad.
It's hard for me to watch.
Yeah. What do you remember from that?
It was just very, very traumatizing.
She goes on to say, Peyton McNabb does, it was 100% avoidable if only my rights as a female athlete had been more important than a man's feelings. Well, that was exactly the conversation that Howley had with Charlie Baker in no uncertain terms before that Senate committee the other day. Here's that exchange raising the issue, again, actually of volleyball, because of that male player on the San Jose State women's volleyball team that resulted in other teams forfeiting and a Leah Thomas-like controversy in women's volleyball at the collegiate level.
But let me just ask you this.
Senator,
a total of 5 teams, 5 women's volleyball teams, Wyoming, Southern Utah, Utah State, Nevada, and Boise State all had to forfeit 7 games in their conference play, NCAA conference play this past year, women's teams, because a biological male under your rules was playing on a rival's team. How is that not denying them the benefits of the sport? Why is this fair to women?
And when that issue went to federal court, the judge sided with participation.
No, the NCAA did not go to court.
No,
that is not true.
The federal judge made the decision with respect to the issue you just raised.
Your rules have not been tried in federal court, and your rules explicitly permit biological males in women's sports. And I am asking you, why is that fair to the women? All of these women on these teams had to forfeit games and therefore a chance to compete in the championship because of your rules. And I want to know, why is that protective of women? That's my question.
So far, the federal government on the court side has issued decisions several times.
No, I'm not asking
in the last
about the
year.
courts. I know what the courts have done. Not one of them
that's
has
their
ordered the
interpretation
NCAA.
of federal law.
This is your policy, which you will not defend because, frankly, it's indefensible. Why are you, Mr. Baker, why are you allowing biological men to play in women's sports?
Because we believe that's consistent with federal policy.
So we're right back to your testimony is you believe you're compelled to do it by federal law. You would change it otherwise?
We believe our policy. I said in my opening comments to Senator Kennedy, the clarity on this issue at the federal level would be very helpful.
Oh, that is such a cop-out. In other words, somebody else please do it for us.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line. You see what Baker's doing there. That volleyball player, that male volleyball player at San Jose State who went to federal court in order to continue to play. The federal court allowed her to play, so it's out of my hands. Right. So we're just acting consistent with what federal courts are deciding in cases where men want to play girls' sports. No. The reason that federal judge had the basis to allow that man to play women's volleyball is because of your policies and procedure. He goes to the NCAA and he looks at the policies and procedures. Well, this allows men to play women's sports, so that male at San Jose State can play women's volleyball. And Charlie Baker is like, well, if the federal government would weigh in and tell us, you can do it. You can do it. And instead, you're taking a passive approach to the benefit of men transgressing into women's sports. That's what you're doing. It is not just a cop-out. It is sniveling cowardice is what it is. And it's not just there, of course, because we also have the locker room issue. And Josh Hawley goes right to the NCAA's guidelines.
You have a pending lawsuit right now from female athletes. You have a pending lawsuit right now from female athletes who are suing you because you allow biological men not only in their sports but also in their locker rooms. Why do you do that, by the way? Why do your guidelines allow biological men into women's locker rooms without the women's consent, without the women's foreknowledge? Why do you do that?
That's not what our guidelines say.
They do say that. I've got them right here. Your guidelines say that transgender student athletes should be able to use the locker room, shower, and toilet facilities in accordance with their gender identity. And here they are, right here.
And then everybody else should have an opportunity to use other facilities if they wish to do so.
Okay, so the burden's on the women. So if the women then want to move to a different facility, in other words, if they want to abandon their own locker room, you're saying that they should have to do that? So in other words, it's their problem?
No, we put a significant amount of emphasis on what the locals' plans are, and we make sure that everybody.
What does that mean, the locals' plans?
Whoever it is that's hosting the event.
You have guidelines that instruct them what the best practices are, and your guidelines say that biological men can go in and use the women's locker rooms if they want to. What the women want has nothing to do with it. They're not mentioned in here at all, correct? Correct. It's right here. You just reaffirmed them in May of this year. I've got them. I'm reading them. I've got them off your website.
I believe our guidelines give people optionality with respect to how they choose to use their facilities. And many,
what does that even mean? Optionality. What it says is transgender student athletes will be able to use the locker room, shower, and toilet in accordance with their gender identity. That means men will be able to use the women's locker rooms. And as Riley Gaines and others have testified before this committee, that means if a man, a biological man, wants to use their locker room, they just have to accept it. Or else the women have to go somewhere else. They've got to go find an alternative. Why is that fair?
We told the local folks who've hosted our tournaments they need to create accommodations for the people who are playing.
You know, so it's the feds on the one hand, it's the locals on the other hand. The only person who doesn't seem to bear any responsibility in this is you and the NCAA, who are the governing body.
Perfect. I mean, we've seen this routine before in Chicago and Illinois. I mean, frankly, we see it on a daily basis. The people who are in charge are not in charge. I mean, like my hands are tied. I'm with you in spirit. There's nothing I can do about it. Somebody should do something about that. You're in charge. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. And text line. Amy, on volleyball?
I've been waiting to hear this story from her and from her parents and to see how her life has changed forever. So this documentary is really, I've been waiting. But Josh Hawley's putting this guy in his place. I mean, that we have to change the way we do business for allegedly, it came out yesterday, the NCAA president saying that there's only less than 10 transgender athletes in college sports right now. Less than 10, which I don't know about that.
Right. That was the exchange he had with Durbin, so that SAC of Durbin can say, let's focus on really improving women's sports. And as we mentioned yesterday, well, you have one dude at San Jose State who is roiling the entirety of women's volleyball at the collegiate level.
Well, yeah,
just like you had one dude swimming on the girls' team at Pennsylvania roiling the entire universe of female swimmers at the collegiate level. It doesn't take a majority, just like it didn't take a majority to severely injure Peyton McNabb playing high school volleyball in North Carolina. So this idea that, and this is Jen Psaki, and this is the left in general, it's a small percentage. Yeah, well, a small percentage
affects a large amount of girls because they
can make a big impact.
They had less touches on the ball. They had less collegiate games. And they're not going to get those back. The 7 that were canceled, that's a big deal. That's a big chunk of your season. I mean, for the San Jose State players as well, their games were canceled too. It's not like they went and just hooked up and did a non-conference game with a nearby school. They just lost touches on the ball. They just lost their parents coming to see them play for probably the last time in their lives. It's ridiculous. I mean, we're changing all the rules for 10 people, and then they're acting like we're wrong for not accepting it.
Right, and it's you completely. I mean, we've been saying this since the beginning. You completely reorient society. You want to do it's a small number. Yeah, it's a small number. So if it's a small number, why are we completely reorienting society around them? That makes no sense. That is not, to borrow a favorite word of theirs, that is not equitable. And it's exactly what Peyton McNabb said. My rights ran headlong into a man's feelings. And in this culture of sentimental barbarism, the feelings won, as they have been for some time.
And I gotta
hopefully
tell you,
hopefully that's beginning to change, but be painstaking. Just like it'll be as painstaking to affect that change as it will be to affect spending restraint on Capitol Hill. I guarantee it.
Well, and I got to tell you, for the last 6 years, I've always had a co-ed girls versus boy at the end of the fall season, at the end of the spring season, with one rule, one caveat. If you have to do a roll shot. You do not spike the ball. Roll shot for the boys, because they could hurt somebody. And if they betray that rule, then I'd yank them off the court.
And for those who are not,
it's like a soft spike, so you're not downing the ball at 50 miles per hour,
right.
A girl's head.
Well, It turned out to be a much bigger issue than a lot of people anticipated it would be in the presidential election.
Yep.
Well, it did, and here's the thing that's happening now. There's this concept that Mark Andreessen has been talking about a bit with respect to people's preferences. It's based on the academic work of a professor at Duke named Timur Curran. It's this idea of preference falsification, which occurs when people essentially, it's Soviet, we've talked about it before, people live and express different preferences publicly than they believe privately because they're afraid. Mm-hmm. They're afraid to publicly live the lives they live privately. Social pressures, economic pressures. When the falsification unwinds suddenly, it creates a cascade effect that can rapidly transform society. And it happens in sort of steps, but it can happen quickly. Maybe it's starting to happen. Maybe. Hidden tensions, that's stage one. Many individuals privately hold beliefs that contradict the official or socially acceptable position, or perceived socially acceptable position, because of the amplification of it through the institutions and channels of communication. Because expressing their views contrary to the social acceptable position perceived carries real costs. We saw that. This is cancel culture. Stage two, initial cracks. Some triggering event reduces the cost of expressing private preferences. It could be a political reform, an economic crisis, or simply some brave individuals who speak out and are willing to face the possible costs. And the cascade, that's step three. Once enough people begin expressing their true preferences, a self-reinforcing cycle begins. Each person who speaks out makes it safe for others to do the same. The perceived cost of dissent drops rapidly. People update their beliefs about how many others share their private views, and it creates a multiplier effect where small initial changes can trigger massive shifts. And then finally, you have system transformation. The rapid revelation of true preferences leads to the collapse of existing institutions that relied on this forced consensus. So there are new social and political arrangements, new socially acceptable positions that come to fore. And there's sort of a psychological shock as people realize how many others privately oppose the system, how many other people privately share their views. And maybe that's what's happening when it comes to things like this trans-identitarian cultism. Maybe. I don't think we're at the system transformation yet, but we may be on the cusp of of the cascade, which is step three. One can hope. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer.
This is a full-blown 4-alarm holiday emergency here.
On AM 560.
We're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap danced with Danny K.
The Answer.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. They're a bank with roots right here in Chicago, and their decisions are made locally, too. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Mick O'Rourke, President and CEO of Signature Bank. We'd like to wish you happy holidays from our Signature Bank family to your family.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. You have a true partnership with a team that is invested in your success. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
I'm Kevin Bastuga, co-founder of Signature Bank. There's no better place to be for the holidays than Chicago. Signature Bank is wishing you a safe, healthy, and happy holiday season.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality this holiday season. Visit signaturebank.bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Better is around the corner in 2025. Feeling better, of course, getting rid of joint pain for once and for all. And QC Kinetics is where it's at. Their patients are able to walk up and down the stairs, sit and get back up. They can finally sleep. Wouldn't it be great to feel normal again? And that could be you. So call QC Kinetics now, today. Say goodbye to shoulder, knee, hip, and back pain. Saturday appointments available, no downtime. Just imagine a new year without achy joints. QC Kinetics uses the healing properties of your own body to attack the root cause of your pain. If you've been told surgery is your best or only option, you deserve a second opinion. Call QC Kinetics. The consultation is free, and you can use HSA and FSA dollars. Live your best life in 2025. Get started now. Call 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. QC Kinetics. Call 312-809-5955.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for, so don't wait. For this free information, call the Relief Hotline at 800-525-7718. 800-525-7718. 800-525-7718.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. I guess we'll have to get to the aliens tomorrow.
Yeah, they can wait.
Well, they're still around. I'm not kidding you. I think there's something to this. All right. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. And Justin, happy 29th birthday. He's not going to be here tomorrow because it is his birthday. And Dan, you and I gave him American Mary. It's Kraft Bloody Mary Mix. They're new advertisers here on AM 560. So welcome, American Mary, to the family. And
Yeah,
Justin, I hope you like our regift.
Finally old enough to drink. That's great.
I know, 29 forever. Times of clouds and sun. It is now 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He's clean-shaven in an orange jumpsuit. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. Luigi Mangione, the man accused of